What's up?
Hi, Donnie. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, my friend. Should we talk about cars and right at the start? Have you sold all your cars? Have you
Over
taken
my
them?
dead body, Sean. I think I'm
No?
gonna have. I was gonna send my car off this week to go to a shop, and I think I'm gonna have to cancel because I had to spend a lot of money last night. So I have to put that off for a little bit.
I just had a thing happen about 2 hours ago before recording.
Oh yeah.
Driving Chelsea's truck because it's the one with the children's seats in the back. My car doesn't have anything for the kids, so when I have the kids, I drive her truck. And I just got a $324 ticket because the registration expired in May, and I had no idea.
I had that happen to me once. It was during COVID, which I blame for it.
Fair.
The first year during COVID, I went right through that. Didn't even think, because if I recall correctly, COVID happened like right near my birthday.
Yeah.
So it was like all going down right at the time that I would be registering.
Totally.
And I went all year long. Not a problem, not a thought.
Well,
and then the next year I tried to register and they were like, you owe us $250.
Oh my God. Yeah, you can't lapse or anything. And the cop was very nice about it. And he could have got us on we've got just an absolute time. A disastrous windshield. Like just horrible. Like, because we have snow so often, like the roads are just ice. So everybody's windshields have just got like these cracks in them. So he could have got us on that as well. And the nice thing is I wasn't speeding. I didn't cut anybody off or anything like that. I just got kind of unlucky that I was on the road long enough that some cop came up behind me, ran my plates for some reason. And he's like, I don't control the prices of the tickets. This is just what it is.
Yeah.
$324. And, but it was a good moment to teach the kids, like, this is how you talk to cops, by the way. Like,
true.
Yes,
a teaching
sir.
Moment.
Yep. Thank you, sir. Yep. I don't like it. I'm not happy, but.
That's interesting. I always tell my kids, not that I don't get pulled over. And usually when I do, by the time they figure out what I do, they let me go.
Yeah.
But the last time I got a speeding ticket was a long time ago, but I remember my daughter, she might have been 8 or 9, maybe 10. And I just told her, I was like, it's like a random tax on the citizenship. Just sometimes your number gets called.
Yeah.
And you just got to pay a little extra taxes that year. It's just like, it is what it is. There's no point in getting,
I started telling them, like, if they break the rules, I'm going to start taking their money. I'm like, we got to pay some money to the police. Why? Because you broke the rules. And if you guys break the rules, I'm going to start taking your money. Okay.
What, you think this is GTA out here? This stuff.
Yeah, just keeping it real with my 6 and 5-year-old. So that's pretty rough, but it could have been worse. Definitely could have been worse. I suppose could have been better. Could have not been pulled over. But it was one of those, like, you see the flashing lights. You're like, I didn't do anything. Yeah, you're like, surely he'll fly by me. I'll pull over. I'll get out of his way. And it's like, son of a bitch. Like, oh no. So,
sir, this truck has been reported stolen.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, I find out
the suspect is a known kidnapper.
This quote unquote photography business that she's running from this truck. Yeah, discover all this other nonsense. And then the other, like, I don't know, this is probably like airing out the dirt. Like, I can't find anything in this truck. Like, I don't know where anything is. I had to mess her. I'm like, I don't even know where the insurance or anything is.
Is it a mess?
Truck. Yeah, it's
my wife's cars. I don't even. It's like her closet. I just don't even.
It's the reason why we have 2 cars.
Yeah, those are her spaces, and I'm not to go there, and I stay out of there. Like, they're just like, it's like the dark place in The Lion King. It's like, we're to never go there, Simba.
Yep. It's a temporary thing while the kids are too small to, like, unless we want to double up on kid seats and booster seats and whatever else.
Sure.
Until then.
I still have, it doesn't always dawn on me that your kids are that small.
Yeah.
Still.
Well, the other thing, kids now, like, you're in what, I don't know, they're not called boots. They're like kids. I don't know what they're even called anymore. But like, until they're pretty heavy, like they have to be quite big.
Is Chelsea that person? She's like, the law says they have to be 93 stone. Or whatever Canadians do. Or
Yeah. Stone is definitely us.
That's it.
No,
my wife is that way. She's super anxiety brain. She'll just hit me with the the law. Like she doesn't know anything ever, and then I'm like, it's fine. Take the seat out, and then she hits me with like Statute 1485 was ratified on September 14th of 1993. It states all children under the age of like how why.
I don't know. If you say so. Okay.
I'm more of the I rode in a bucket seat when I was 6 with no seatbelts.
Yeah, front seat. Yeah. Yeah, no where the airbag doesn't turn off if it does have airbags, just like let that thing explode in my face.
Just throw them in the back of the truck. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, so that happened.
Sorry, man.
It happens.
It does happen.
It's one of those things. It probably should be bothering me more than it is.
It was a speeding ticket when we went to Florida. They just have like overpasses with cameras, and they just send you a ticket in the mail. I'm like, well, this doesn't seem fair.
Yeah, we have
like something you like have that, to actually write us a ticket before I feel like I actually have to pay it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's just like
this isn't Cyberpunk. It's not Night City. Okay. I'm not here to be your passive income police department. The hell out of here.
That's all it is. That's Alberta, man. That's us. We have that. And that maybe that's why I'm not as bothered by it, because it like I was the one driving the truck. Probably should have, played some sort of role to make sure I was driving a vehicle that was registered, but I don't really feel like it's my fault.
I drove all year long and I didn't. Yeah, just tell Chelsea to copy the money back.
Yeah, well, it's all the same.
No, but you still need the money back.
Yeah, double. It's done.
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna need that. That might be the heaviest fine I've ever had, though. Like that's bigger
pretty
than
hefty for registration.
Ticket.
That's really hefty for registration.
Yeah,
that's insane. I've gotten significant speeding tickets that were a fraction of that.
Same. I think the most I've had on a speeding ticket was like maybe 150, maybe 160, something like that.
Yeah,
like
the registration's insane. That's nuts.
Registration's kind of crazy. Well, the thing is, like they used to make you put a sticker on your license plate, like this thing is registered up until such and such year. And they stopped doing that, I guess. Maybe they discovered that they can save $47 a year across the entire province by not making these stickers or whatever.
Interesting.
But I always like that.
Running tags.
I guess like it's just at least for me, it was I'm actually looking at that and I can see it. I don't have to go into my glove box and pull out the registration, go like, when is this thing, or set up whatever reminder.
I never carry registration.
Yeah, well,
I tell my wife that all the time. Every time a cop pulls you over, they go license, registration. And in my entire history of driving, I have never had registration to hand them.
Oh, yeah, that was like the first thing.
I always hand them. Like they send you the paper. I know what it is. I just never put it in my car, and I've never had it.
Oh,
I hand them my license, and I tell them it's registered. Like I registered it this year. I don't have.
That's the way it should be. Really?
Yeah, it's like why am I carrying this receipt?
It's on your computer. Yeah,
like you know this. That's for you to figure out. Like why am I here? That's your job.
Yeah. Well, I was messaging Chelsea because I'm like, I don't even know where you have the registration, the insurance in this car.
The onus is on the state.
Yes. Yeah, you should be able to. Yes.
If you can't prove that I didn't do it, I'm off.
Yeah.
Scot-free.
You know what happened though? One time, this was when I was much younger. I on my car forgot to renew the registration, and they got me when I was parked at the bus stop, like where everybody parks their car and then jumps on the bus to go and like downtown.
So this is a part of his routine. He just sits there and runs tags.
That's what they did. Yeah, that was a long time ago. But that was just like really like I came back to a ticket waiting on my windshield. Like
it's pretty lame.
Yeah, like golly, kind of just wanted to fight on that. Like that's.
Don't fight cops. That's not good. Don't do that, John.
Not like fight them.
No, I heard you. You were like, I've had enough. I figured that's what
definitely.
That's just Canada. That's why your hockey players are so good. You take your driving gloves and you take them off and you throw them down. You take your driving stick and you huck it out the window and you're like, we're doing this.
Yep. We all have. Did you ever have the club? I think it was called the anti-theft device.
Yeah, I know. I never did. My mom didn't have a car. Like I didn't live with somebody that had a car until I was in 6th or 7th grade.
Yeah.
We never. I'm aware of what the club is.
Just a heavy. I think it's just a weapon. I think it's just another
looking
like between that and a tire iron. You're armed and ready to go.
That's true. Yeah.
Very dangerous. But yeah, when Canadians get pulled over by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the RCMP, we grab their police jersey and pull it over their head and start giving them an uppercut.
Yeah.
Just feeding them.
I think if you can win, then you're off.
Can you imagine? Yeah, it's like the Wild West out here. Maybe, or just like, rock, paper, scissors. But if you want just full on battle royale. Yeah. You have certain choices. You could plead guilty and pay the fine. You can take this to court and fight it, or we can fight right now. You put up your dukes. We can just go right now.
You can step out here and take 2 minutes with me, and if you win, you can drive home.
Oh, can you imagine? That'd be great. This guy's got like dad strength. This guy would just absolutely ruin me.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
I think most cops would.
I hear those things with Delvin. Delvin's like, I'm like, who's fighting these days? I don't have that energy anymore.
Dude, did you see what was it?
That's such a long time ago, me. Like, I couldn't do this at all anymore. Somebody was like, we're doing this. I'm like, we are not.
Yeah, man. Well, the thing is, like I said, like that, there's a fight at a football game. I think it was Pats and Dolphins, and guy got punched. He fell, hit the ground, and fell unconscious and never woke up again. He died.
Oh, really? It's like, he's dead.
He's dead. Like, and
wow. That's what I tell my son. Like, you hear these horror stories.
Fight. Yeah.
I've gotten in fights in the past. I've punched a lot of people, and to think that like at a moment's notice that was possible is terrifying.
Dude, it happened to my brother's friend, 18 years old, which is when you're allowed to go to the bars here in Alberta. It's 19 everywhere else in Canada. They're out having a good time. Mm-hmm. Bars are closed. They get outside. Somebody looks at somebody the wrong way. They start scrapping. This kid died. Like he got knocked unconscious, hit his head on the ground, and that was it. And
that's terrifying.
To me, like, I don't know, dude. Like, it's almost like, how does that not happen more often? Like when you get knocked out, like you just.
Yeah, that's true.
You hit the ground, dude.
I found my bell rung pretty good too in the past, and it's amazing that didn't happen to me.
It's no good. So don't fight. It's not fighting. Is not. It's not something to like. I don't know. It's just fight them. Just go beat them up.
Sometimes you have to.
Run away.
But you don't. Yeah, I don't think I would subscribe to that much anymore. But as a child, I definitely did.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Well, yeah, you're invincible, and we grew up on Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, and like what could happen.
I got this.
Yeah, like it's not like we're fighting with knives or anything, so it'll be fine.
Yeah, you always think as long as it's fists, everything's safe.
Totally, and
then you realize
for the most part,
not.
like obviously that generally the case, but you can get pretty messed up.
Mm-hmm.
Don't want that to happen to anybody, especially people we know. Goodness gracious.
Well, John, thank you. I am actually somewhat exhausted. The last 3 or 4 days, I've been doing nothing but putting up decorations. Today, mainly being a big part of it. Mm-hmm. So that's what I've been doing all day. I actually just hit the shower right before we got started because I was like, I'm going to pass out. Like I don't have the energy younger me did. Yeah. Just like my hip hurts. My feet hurt. Like I'm tired of this. I can't keep carrying bins and bins of decorations and all of this. Like I'm even tired.
Mm-hmm.
So
are you happy with it though?
It's not done yet.
It's coming.
But yeah, it's getting there. I had to make some changes on the fly. Some of my plans I don't think worked as well as I wanted it to work. Mm-hmm. So I quickly changed direction, and I'm waiting on some extra stuff to arrive. I want to do that before I finish. Like the only thing I've got left to do is really to run electrical.
Yep.
But I'm waiting on my other things to arrive because that'll really dictate where I start putting extra lights and fog machines and stuff. But once
I'm enjoying this process you're kind of describing. I didn't realize it was so fluid, actually. Like I just feel like you would have like this idea and then it happens. But of course that's not how anything.
No, that's actually exactly how it worked.
Okay.
I had this idea. I mean, I'll give you the long run around it.
All right.
My daughter usually runs my light strands, like my Christmas lights, like the Halloween Christmas lights. And I hate doing that. And she runs them through like all the rails in our porch and everything. And it's always a hassle. And I'm like, I'm never going to do this. She's getting older and she's about to leave. And I was like, I need to find a better way of like decorating this without doing that.
Yeah.
So I came up with this idea. I was like, I'm going to run like 1,000 streamers.
Yeah.
I was going to get a bunch of like streamers and I got like purple and black and orange, and I cut them into like 14-foot strips because my porch sits a decent amount off of the ground.
Yeah.
So we're kind of elevated, like a platform.
Very imposing.
Yeah, and I was like, this is, when my kids come to walk up my stairs, they have to look up to come up. So I was like, if I just put a bunch of streamers on all the rails, like the wind will blow, they'll move, like
what
the
a perspective,
smoke
like
will
what
be
a picture
there.
you're painting for me.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, this would be great. And I put them all on, and I'm listening to my podcast, jam into the fake Xbox Drive, and I'm putting my streamers up.
Like the real one is with me and you.
Of course, the real one. There's like this impersonator. I don't know where they got a feed from. I'm not sure if you didn't see that, but there's these fake Xbox drives out there.
Yeah, I've heard about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I figured that like this would be great. And I stopped and I looked at it and the wind blew and I was like, this is amazing. And then the thought hit me that ruined everything. I was like, what happens when it rains?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I was like, all of this, it's like paper. Like all of this is going to fall apart and stick together, and it's going to be a mess. Like this can't work. So then I then started taking it all back down. So what I've done,
like spray it with something, some sort of like,
it's not a bad idea. I didn't think of
Flex Seal or something like that. I don't know.
Like a lacquer.
Some sort of.
But itself is paper. Like that. You're just making it wet.
That's true. I don't understand.
And then then it will blow in the wind, or is it just like frost? It's just stuck.
Yeah.
I don't think that works.
Just laminate it.
Yeah. So I was thinking this out loud, and I told my kids, I was like, it'd be cool if like we had like I was literally talking to my children. I was like, it'd be cool if we had like a tarp, like a wrestling apron that they put on the ring, that we could just like drop off the side of the rails, and it would have like a picture on it. And I was like, it would be even cooler if there was like a scene we could like wrap around the porch. And I was like, and my wife was like, yeah, it's kind of cool. She's like, I'm sure you could go to a printing place and have one made.
Oh,
she's like, you can measure everything. And I was like, yeah, I probably could. So then I start searching around, and then I just realized that they basically make this, but they don't sell it for this reason. They make them for garage doors. People just hang up big tarps on their garage doors.
Totally. Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'll just buy like 5 of those and we'll see how they look.
Yeah.
So I bought a bunch of different designs. I bought one really big one that I kind of want to wrap like the majority of the porch in. And it has like this, it's like this, like sundown, like orange burst, kind of like yellow, orangey Halloween autumn type look, like this creepy thing. And then I bought one that has like a bunch of like Freddy and Jason and Chucky on it. And I bought one that's like dark and like midnighty with like cats and tombstones. And I'm just going to like hang them around the porch. I don't know if it's going to look good or not. Like I'm afraid that it'll look cheap, like real kind of trashy.
Yeah.
But like anything to just kind of hide the underside of my porch. Cause like I said, my porch is 6 feet off the ground. Like I can walk under it.
Yeah.
And there's nothing down there.
What a good way to describe it. Cause 6 feet is like, that's just saying a thing, but like you can walk under it. Like,
I can literally just walk underneath it. There's nothing there. It's just empty space. And there's like weeds, old tools and things that we like throw under there. Yeah. And I was just like, I just want to kind of get it out of sight and kind of hide it.
I love it.
So yeah, I'm going to see what these things look like. And I hope they look, I'm hoping they look, obviously I'm hoping they look good. I'm hoping they're fun.
What did you do before?
So my daughter would run lights through all of it. And then underneath we would kind of do like a whole scene under the porch where I would hang. Okay. I had like a Grim Reaper I would hang, and I would set up lights, and we would put stuff up. So as the kids are walking up the porch, they can like look under the porch and see stuff that's under there. But I just don't want to run. I just don't want to run that many lights anymore.
Right. Yeah.
It's a lot. And actually I should have said this more than my daughter, like more than me preparing to live life without her. My one outdoor like electric receptacle like blew up last year.
Yeah.
And I usually ran lights from it. So that's another part of it, is I don't want to run lights from there. So I'm trying to figure out a way of doing it without running so many lights. Because every year we'd have to drag all the lights out, untangle them all, and test them all, just like Christmas. And half the lights don't work, and you got to replace them. And I was like, let's get off the light. Like I have tons of lights. Like it'll be well lit. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
It's just like, I just want to get off of those lights. Because I've got like 12 Halloween floodlights that I can set to all different colors and make them change and all that.
This is amazing.
I set them all up around My wife told me this. She told me the other day. She's like, I think you need to kind of stop. She's like, because it's getting. She's like, it's real dense. Because like right now, there's stuff everywhere. Like it's looking real. I think it looks great. She thinks it's packed. She's like, it's kind of claustrophobic.
That means you've reached the level. I'm
getting there. Like I'm reaching capacity.
Yes. Yeah.
I've got like, I made these. I'm not sure if you've ever seen them, but a couple years ago I made these scarecrows, like jack-o'-lantern scarecrows with like PVC pipe and stuff. I've got like 12 of them all stationed out throughout the yard, and they're tall. They're like 6 feet tall.
Yep.
And I've got a couple inflatables, and I've got tombstones. And this year I got some shepherd hooks, and I've hung out like some creepy lanterns that hang out on the shepherd hook.
What's that?
It's like a pole with a hook on the end. Think of like a shepherd, like tending to like sheep or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Thing he holds.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so you can buy them. They're called shepherd's hook. You buy them, and people usually hang like plants from them in the yard.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
So, but mine are hanging lanterns. I have like these Bray Wyatt type lanterns that are hanging from them.
I love the way that you're kind of describing this, because without this, I would want to, whenever I think about something, I want to do something with my yard. I'm like, all my mind is going to do is just go to Spirit Halloween or whatever and just go buy a bunch of the
sure you can do that.
I mean, yeah, but like I like the way that you're like, make a scarecrow. Like, give me some examples of something that like I can understand that.
I found it really easy. The scarecrows are easy. They're 2 pieces of pipe.
You can handle that. Yeah,
they're cross pipes, right? You get a fitting. They cross together.
Yep.
And then what I found is I forget what they're called. I think they're called like butterfly clasps.
Mm-hmm.
It's like so you get like a plastic pumpkin head. Like just like the ones you trick or treat with, but I have other ones, but whatever. You get a plastic pumpkin head, you drill a hole in it, you put a bolt through the bottom of it.
Yep.
You put it in the 4-way that you connect your pipes to.
Totally.
And then on the other side, you put in the clasp.
Yep.
And you tighten it, and it tightens it down. And then you just put the clasp in, you put the pipes on the end, and then you dress it up with, we've got like bloody like gauze and like stuff like that, and you put that on there and you make it look all scary. And then I've got LED lights that I put in their mouths so they light up and you can see them. We make them change purple and orange and all that.
I love it. It's like creating props for a movie, but it's your front yard. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I do get I get too much enjoyment out of it.
I don't think that's
I was thinking about it today because like I literally took a week off of work, like a vacation, and I spent half of it just doing that. That's all I've been doing for days is doing
That's what it takes. That's why
I was out there today doing it, and I was like, and like the thought popped in my head. I was just like, this is so dumb. Like you've spent all this time on a Saturday doing this. And I was like, no, it's not. Like I love doing this. It's so much fun doing this.
Yes. And you're good at it. And you've been getting better as time goes on.
When I was a kid, like I did, like our neighborhood had a haunted house that we would do every year.
Yeah.
That I did on behalf of like the rental agency.
Mm-hmm.
They would give us some money, like a budget.
Yeah.
And we would basically turn, like our pool had like a guest house or whatever, like an attaching, like a rec center, like a little auditorium and a cafeteria and stuff, like a little workout room, like a pool house really is really what it was. And they would just give me like $200 a year and let me recruit some kids and like design a haunted house to run on Halloween.
Yeah.
I did that for 3 years and I loved it and I had a blast doing it. And so I think there's like a lot of that coming out, like with my own house. It's like, if I could build a haunted house that you go through to get to the end to get the candy, I would.
Yeah.
I absolutely would if I could.
I can't seem to chest as Sean. There are Halloween enthusiasts all over who do this. I realize that, but it's not everybody, and not everybody. I don't get to talk.
I'm the only person on my street. Nobody else even decorates. Nobody even like hands out candy. But I do love that I don't get many kids. Not like my old house. My old house, I'd probably get, 50, 60, 80 maybe. Now I get like, being lucky if I have like 30 families come by.
The whole neighborhood grew up. Yeah.
But the people that do come by, they usually always tell me, they're like, yeah, like we walk the main street and everything. And he's like, but then we get in the car and I tell them like, we've got to come down the street and come see them. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
so I am developing that reputation as being like that guy at least on the street.
Chelsea and I, for the most part, we'll see how this year goes. It seems to have been slightly different every year, but we both go with both kids. And it's kind of like a rare thing actually, where all 4 of us get to do like a thing like that. Usually it's me and the kids or Chelsea and the kids, and we kind of like tag in and out. Today was a good example of that. Chelsea was doing her thing and I was with the kids getting tickets and chased down by police and whatnot. But Halloween is the thing. So we leave our house kind of unattended. We leave a bowl of candy,
a bucket out there.
Yeah, and just people could take it.
You ever kid just walk up and take it?
Not yet. But I'm sure time is.
Every time I see people doing that, I was like, man, 13-year-old me would have just owned.
Oh, 13-year-old me too. Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah. I would have walked to the house and be like, what a bunch of idiots.
Probably. I'm kind of waiting for that. But maybe I'm making excuses, but like I wouldn't be able to experience like other people experiencing my house. But I would love to really I feel like I'm just a step behind. I have
more fun handing out candy than I've ever had trick-or-treating, either myself or with the kids, for sure.
Yeah.
And often at this point, I mean, my daughter's gotten older, but even Jack, like they're getting to the point now where they just want to stay. I tell them all the time, I'm like, I'll just buy you candy. You can stay and help me hand out candy.
Yeah.
One year I streamed to get video games from the porch, and several people still ask me to do that every year. Yeah. Like, hey,
that's what I mean. Like, I think I'll get there. The time is limited with the kids as they want to hang out and actually trick or treat. So
my daughter's now like she wants to go with her friends. Like they want to, like they don't go trick or treating. They want to go
prepared for that,
hang out and stuff. She did tell me this year. She's like, she said, Dad, I want to have kids over to the house, have like a little get together while you're doing your Halloween. Like she's looking at everything I'm doing now, and she's like, this is the perfect Halloween party location.
That's true.
Look at what my dad has done.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
I'm totally fine with it because we also do. Good. So I put up my movie theater. I have like the big blow up inflatable movie theater and everything. I put that up in the driveway, and while it's a part of my decorations. Like I bought a whole projector and everything, and I run old horror movies while people are trick or treating. They're just running in my driveway all night.
Yeah.
And we usually stop trick or treating around like 9:30, and then I usually order pizza, and then we just sit in the driveway, and we just watch a movie.
What kind of do you have to be selective of what kind of movies you have?
Of course. You can't be offending people. You can't have titties out on the screen in front of everybody, or
that's what we're worried
people
about.
chopping people's heads off.
Definitely no boobies.
Like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. People are more people are way more into the more adopting of the violence than they are of any nudity.
Yeah.
So I usually run classics.
Sure.
Right, Frankenstein. I want like the Shrieks.
That's a good
Dawn of the Dead or Night of the Living Dead, something like that.
Those are kind of scary.
Stuff like
those
that.
are kind of gruesome. Maybe it's just they have moments. I guess it's not like the entire movie is just like blood. Guts,
I usually do. Poltergeist is a good one. I've gone to a few years in a row.
The second time Chelsea was asking me about Poltergeist just a couple days ago, and
it's an easy one. Movie. It's kind of. I've always wanted to do Leprechaun. I always think Leprechaun is like
the Leprechaun.
The original Leprechaun is kind of like a kid's movie. Like I don't think people remember that way, but if you haven't watched it in a long time, it's very Disney.
I only
not like
know
the later
from Wayne's World.
The later ones got more like Chucky. And,
sure.
I always want to run Chucky, but my wife won't. I can't be having the doll cussing everybody out as they're coming by with the kids. Beautiful. You love to see it.
I picked up Child's Play from the library.
Have you seen it before?
I've never seen this movie before.
Wow.
This will be a first. This will be a first for me. I have 3 weeks to watch this thing. I want to give a shout out to Ariana from Edmonton Public Library. Staff picks little sticker on this thing. Who knows how long it's been there for, but
she's got a good taste.
Ariana's staff pick. So
can I give you any sort of backstory, or do you want to go in completely blind?
I kind of want to go blind. I love the artwork on this. DVD cover, because that is
that's
something.
The OG. That was it wasn't the VHS cover because it had the building and stuff, but that was one of the alt covers, I believe.
Dev in the chat, is that a DVD? Yeah, this is a DVD. I think it's a DVD. DVD, not a Blu-ray.
That's okay.
With the old ones, tell you, finding this was hard.
With the old ones, you want the kind of the grainy anyway. It adds to the effect.
Yes,
you want the film.
I don't want it like touched up and remastered or whatever. Like if I could get a VHS, that'd be.
I still keep select DVDs of some movies for that reason.
Just for that
effect. For the effect,
yeah. Like what? What comes to mind for you for the
Texas Chainsaw for sure?
Oh, okay, yeah,
100% Texas Chainsaw.
I was thinking like Pulp Fiction for some
Evil
reason.
Dead.
Yes. Oh, I love that.
But even the Blu-rays do a really good job of still like keeping that cut look. But like the DVDs, I think add a bit to it. I mean, give it more of that VHS feel.
Dev says, "How is that not streaming just somewhere?" Like I don't really subscribe everywhere.
Yeah, it's Canada, Dev. He doesn't have all the things, stuff like that.
I feel like I was searching for this, and maybe it was streaming somewhere.
Peacock is destroying on that space. Like, they added a ton of horror movies. I don't know if Chucky's up there, but they added a bunch. Yeah, Peacock's got a bunch. The other one, well, I'll save it because we're gonna do our horror movie podcast soon. I'll save it.
Yeah.
Child's Play, I love. Now, I do want to say a couple of things. The reason I love about Child's Play is you're watching the first.
Yeah.
And when I have talked to people, obviously, about Chucky, who I have here next to me, when I talk to people about Chucky over the years, I find that most often kids our age, when they think Chucky, I find that they think of Chucky 2 more than Child's Play. Like, they're literally thinking of Child's Play 2. Like, when they talk about their favorite memories, their favorite scenes, they usually are all from Child's Play 2. Not to say people haven't seen Child's Play. I wouldn't go that far, but I just don't think it sticks with people as much. Child's Play is the better movie. Child's Play 2 is more entertaining, but like Child's Play is literally a great movie. Yeah, it's like full cast and everything.
That's Alien.
The acting and everything. It's really, really good.
I'd argue the same for Alien. For the longest time, everybody like Aliens, the second one. That's the one. And you go back and I don't know, dude. Like, I think the OG just totally holds up.
I think the later ones in the Chucky space, they're definitely more entertaining. They're more gimmicky, right? Bigger kills and all that stuff. That
character kind of comes to life a little bit
funnier.
more.
Yeah, of course. But Child's Play is the better story, the better movie.
Yeah.
And I love it for that reason alone.
I'm stoked about it, man. Like, this is
it also has like my favorite Chucky scene.
Very inspired by your podcast, by Decade of Horror. And I think I shared with you, like, I was just scribbling notes.
I wanted to go back and listen. I thought of it because I saw your list, and I'm not sure if I read it right. It's hard to read.
Scream was listed in there. It might have been just me trying to find space. Scream. I know. It might have been just me like finding space. Somebody might have said it. Maybe it wasn't.
I was like, I want to go back. That's right. Maybe I was just like throwing it out there as like people like it, even though I'm not a super fan. I loved it when it first started. Like the first 3 Screams, I think
that might have been what you were saying. Like, I don't think you were
trying. Scream overall, the franchise is not my favorite. It's not my gig.
It was funny because I'm like, I know that I did that, but I'm searching everyone. I'm searching like Google Docs and everything else.
It's just become the thing that like it was making fun of and parroting. Like, it is that now.
Yes.
In itself, and I just hate it. It's like so meta.
That's like so many.
It drives me nuts.
That's like Saw. Fast and Furious. Really,
I feel very similar about those as well. I'm just like, I just want Scream to get back to just being like a good horror movie. Like, just can we just do this now, or do we have to keep doing this? You know, it's not my. Although, I mean, I will admit, the new Scream this year is pretty good. And if I say it's like decent, then it means probably fans loved it because I thought it was pretty good. Yeah, I was like, this is okay. Okay, this isn't that bad. Where last year's Scream I thought was awful. I hated that movie.
I love it that it's like an annual thing. Like this year's, like there's some movies are, I guess.
Well, I think it got backed up with COVID. I think, and they had back-to-back releases. I think. But
on PSVG this week, did you say that you watched 23 new horror movies this year? Like,
it's more now. This year? It's more now. But that's probably about right. I can open my list. Hang on.
Dude, I'm like, I've got a bookmark. Movies, let alone of like a particular genre.
I gotta wait for my sheet to load.
That was my trouble trying to find these notes. I'm like, I know I did this, and it was hard. I had to like re-listen to what you guys were saying, and there's all these lists.
It's not that many. No, I watched 23.
Yeah.
New 2023 movies. So I've watched 23 horror movies in 2023.
23. So you're done.
I'm not. I've got 1, 2, 3. I've got 4 that I would love to watch before Friday. We'll see if I get them all done. I doubt it. But I've got 4 that I like to see. But I've seen.
He's counting.
What's 16 plus 23? 39?
There's no way to know. Yeah.
That's my total on the year.
That's amazing.
And the funniest thing, I didn't get started until like, when did Fatal Frame come out? Like April?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't get started until then.
Yeah. Interesting. Like
I started playing Fatal Frame, and it got me, because for a long time, months went by this year where I just didn't want to do anything.
Yeah.
It was just like I wasn't in the mood. Mm-hmm. I always tend to have like this post-Halloween hangover.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't really interested. And then I started playing Fatal Frame, and it just got everything going again. And then I was like a man possessed.
Yeah.
And I've been on a terror the last 6 weeks.
Now, when you and I talk about Halloween movies and horror movies, I feel like there's a certain, I don't know, type of scary movie that comes to mind with that kind of thing. Like,
hey, Dev, it's 3 things.
That's what, dude. I was gonna say that. I was gonna say the same thing. I was totally gonna say the same thing. I'm like, I don't know if I want to reference it for the audio, but in any case, that did sound like 3 things to me. Sci-fi, like sci-fi horror, is definitely a thing. Does this like what if I'm like getting into the Halloween spirit? I'm holding up the Callisto Protocol I just picked up from the library. Like Halloween, is this Halloween spirit material?
Sure.
The Quarry seems like it. Seems like more.
It's got the gore.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said the gore. The Quarry sucks.
The Quarry. Yeah.
The Quarry's dumb. It's lame.
Well, I feel like it's a great library game. Try it out. Or maybe just play. Yeah, exactly. Sure. Maybe I should just play Until Dawn.
That would be better. If you're playing the Quarry wanting it to be Until Dawn, you'll be sorely let down.
It's been a while since I played Until Dawn. So it could be like playing it like new. But I don't think that's my big library pickup. Picked up Child's Play.
I love Callisto Protocol. No matter how many people they fire and how unsuccessful it was, I really enjoyed that game.
That's how do you fire the guy who like made the company? I don't know. That seems weird.
He's the one that put the studio together. Just waiting. Like, do we ever hear from that studio again, or does it just silently like go away?
Just kind of quietly, just whimper.
Like rebrand or something, maybe.
I don't know. Was he the reason for its failure? Like, was like this? These are the things I really want to know. Like, what decisions were actually made? What's actually going on in there? Let's see those emails.
So the people, I think, ultimately the industry has yet. I don't know the best way of saying this. It's nothing profound, but there seems to have been, maybe 5 years ago, a lot of enthusiasm that people thought they could like launch new IPs, and they all seem to really be failing or struggling. And I think they overshot or overjudged, or at least if they didn't overshoot it, they are now swinging back the other way. And I think we're about to get more licensed shit than we've gotten in this last half decade. I think a lot of things are going to be tied to IP, because if you just look at it and you just start counting off the new IP, they all seem to be struggling. And I just think there's like, I think if you're launching new IP, I think you need to do it somewhat like more risk adverse. Quit going all in on we're going to launch a brand new AAA best of the best game of the year new IP. It's like dip a toe. Set the sights a little lower. Maybe make a shorter game, a smaller game, a cheaper game, and see if the people attach to it eventually, and then you follow it back up with something else.
Yes.
And that's just not the business model. The model was you launch a new IP, you lose on the first one, and you make it up on the second and third one. The problem is we're not even getting 6 months after the first one before they're firing and shutting everything down.
Do you think, like, this is going back a ways, but is that Assassin's Creed, or did Assassin's Creed come out and try to be the best thing ever? Like, it's hard for me to remember, because it seemed like for me, and I feel like I was still kind of paying attention back then.
I wasn't. Yeah, this was like that sort of logic was well above me at that time.
But I remember being
Assassin's Creed was a big deal when it came out.
Right. I remember being caught off guard. Like, I'm sorry, the what? Like, this is like this is the banner at E3. It's like Call of Duty and Assassin's Creed 2 or 3 or whatever it was. It seemed like it seemed like the first one was neat, and it had this cool art style, and the character and just the look of it was really interesting. And then before I knew it was the biggest thing on the planet.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. I think they probably I think Assassin's Creed had fans, but it wasn't the franchise that it became. I don't think that happened until 2. And that's typically the case. That's typically the case, is a big successful franchise makes up for it in game 2 and 3. But the games are getting so expensive to make and so hard to make that I don't think you've got a triple release in you out of the gate anymore. Like, you've got a hit on the first one.
I want to know more about this. This is a common thing that people talk about. Like, the games cost more, they take longer to make. I'd love to dive in with somebody about, like, what is it about them? Why? Like I get that. Like, but why? Like, what choices are being made? Like, is it because the game has to be? I'm not suggesting that's not the case, but I'm curious on.
I mean, I think we know what it is.
But is Nintendo having a harder time to make games? Is it technology? Is it like that's what I mean? Like, is it a scope and scale thing? To your point, like I
definitely think it's a scale is a big part of it.
Yeah,
I think if you're trying to compete in that AAA space, I think you are trying to make a very big game.
Yeah,
and that takes a lot of content and a lot of systems.
Yeah,
and like that's just where the competition is.
Yeah,
if you don't reach that level, then you get bad reviews, and then everybody there's a very high bar that you're attaining to. I don't think that applies to Nintendo. So it's like taking Nintendo and using them, they're the exception to the rule.
Sure.
Nintendo has like a built-in inherent advantage that I bet the rest of the industry fucking loathes.
Yeah,
like just
they wish.
Seethes in envy. I wish Jim Ryan wishes he could make a cartoony 2D game and be like, this is our game of the year. Like, this is
15 million copies because
100%. 100%. I wish they were
that's
like
just cashing in on the IP.
1,000%.
Like, which they,
so I don't think they're a good example of that.
Sure.
I think more things like Avium, like Callisto, those are the better examples of that. Where Callisto objectively is a pretty good game. Like by video game standards, it's pretty good. It looks great. It's a beautiful game, Sean. Like it's really nice.
I can't wait to play it, man.
And really apparently it's like a total failure. Like it's just, and I think they sold 2 million copies, and like that's enough.
That's what I'm after. Like that's like who's deciding these things? What like
I think that's decided really by how much that game costs to make.
And maybe think about if you're market, like
if you're bankrolling that thing.
Yeah.
And let's say it took 3 or 4 years to make. And video game developers, at least at the more executive levels, get paid pretty well.
Yeah.
And you've got to keep that thing functioning, and HR and marketing and all that. And, you're probably into it a few million, some millions of dollars. And then you only sell 2 million copies, and it doesn't.
What engine is this thing on? Is this on Unreal Engine? They try and make their own damn engine. Like, what do they do? Like, I just want to know more. Like, I want to have like 10, 20 questions with this, because I don't know, almost like I just don't want it to be the case. Like, we've just kind of accepted this.
We grew up in a different
$1 trillion to make, and it must be this, and it's like, how is that working out for anybody?
Yeah,
like we just I don't know doing this.
I would guess that Callisto probably took, I don't know, $50-75 million to make.
I feel like the number is out there, and it's ridiculous. I feel
and
like
it's not even that. Well, I'm not factoring in marketing. I'm literally probably just cost to make the game.
Yeah,
is probably what I'm thinking, because I'm thinking like what Last of Us took like 200 million to make. This is probably a third of that, maybe.
Yeah,
in terms of scale and scope and polish and all that.
Something like that.
Yeah, maybe something like that.
Yeah, Control, I remember hearing like just a really small number, like 50 million, maybe 45, 30.
Yeah,
like
that's probably right
for Control, like which is great. So
by modern standards, that's a very linear, kind of path forward experience.
Yes,
and so is Callisto. Story driven. Yeah,
just about it's about efficiencies, and it's about like
Sean Layden warned us, man. He wasn't lying.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's not a I used to say this all the time. Video game development is not like it's not the 50 cent or the $1 table. It's the high roller table at the casino. Like, you got to show up with some chips. You can't play at the dollar table in video games. Like, it's very rough.
Even at the indie level, which is, I think, an interesting kind of flip on that statement. In AAA space, you get it. This is going to cost $300 million. At an indie level, the stakes are, I would say, like equally high, but they show up different. It's like the indie level, it's making Stardew Valley by one guy, and he's got to quit his job and triple mortgage his house.
The issue with the indie level is that there's 4 billion options to choose from.
There's no capital to get started.
It's ultra competitive. It's like supremely competitive, where you don't really have that sort of competition at that highest peak. But at the bottom, at the base, there's so many options, it's hard to even be seen. I always wonder to myself, like, how many great games have I never even heard of that have like released?
Interesting that you should say
like when I come across a game like the one that I always think of, like Dusk. I really, really like that game.
Yep.
It's a lot of fun. And I imagine most people have never played it. A lot of people probably have never even heard about it. They didn't even know it exists.
To the point about marketing.
At the other end of the spectrum, that's what you're dealing with. You're like, will anybody please play my video game?
Yeah. Well, and I think that's what, I mean, this is the obligatory Game Pass mention, but like,
true.
Game Pass instantly just like brings games to people's attention. This week, Donnie, ID at Xbox sent us an email with codes for Gloomhaven Gold Edition, Liza P, which people definitely have heard about, Squad 51 versus the Flying Saucers, Hammerhelm, Party Animals. So it's actually a pretty good week this week. We've got Party Animals, Rayland 2, Bud Spencer and Terrace Hill Slaps and Beans 2. That's a game.
What?
That's that whole title. That's a
what? The Canada?
Well, this is a sequel. Exactly. The description: the action-packed sequel to the 2017 brawler sensation Slaps and Beans is finally here. We've all been waiting for it. Cyber Citizen Shockman 2.
Maybe we should change the name of the podcast to that. Slaps and Beans.
Slaps and Beans. Frank and Beans. Shuyan Saga Super Snake Blocks DX Whatever Land Bloons TD6 this week. That's it. Like all that just in 1 week.
I saw on YouTube recommended me a video that apparently Witchfire came out, and that's a game that I was like casually interested in. I was like, that looks cool. I didn't even know it released. And I do this. Like I podcast about video games every week. I was like, oh shit, it's already out.
How is anybody gonna find that?
Yeah. So I think that's the harder part. Like I truly think that there's just probably like a Link to the Past out there that like we've never seen. You know, like a truly great indie gem that we have no idea.
That's the real FOMO. Like, what if there is a great indie game that somebody made that you just missed?
It's never gonna hit your radar. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, dude, that's
self-published to Steam somewhere or Indiegogo, and you're just like, we'll never see it.
And the person like upended their entire life to make it, or those four people or whatever it was, like what if Cuphead never hit Xbox's radar? I don't know. Maybe it's a different story. Maybe I'd love to learn more about that. I know it's been covered quite a bit. They mortgaged their houses and things like that, but maybe they did that because they had Xbox's, support or whatever.
Maybe that handshake.
Yeah. Something. Well, and just that there's some sort of like some assurance that this is at least going to get noticed. Like, I don't know if you triple mortgage your
crack at it.
property, if they're not even noticing you yet.
Mm-hmm.
But it's sad. But
it is.
I mean, we talk about it all the time. We don't individually have enough time for all these games. So,
dude, speaking of Game Pass, I haven't played anything on Game Pass in months. I have all this Game Pass, but not using it at all.
No, get in that
because I'm playing a bunch of things that I would rather play. Like there's so many games available that because I'm playing Cyberpunk.
Yeah,
which still, Sean, is not on Game Pass. Like going back 5 years,
couldn't have been more wrong about this thing.
Yeah, it's released and re-released and released again and completely failed and resurrected, and like it's still not on Game Pass.
Look, you came on the Xbox Drive and you're like, just make, or maybe it was here. I don't even remember what he said. Just make good video games, and Phil says, "I'm kind of funny." 2 days later. Look, people say if we just make good video games, like everything's going to be great. So that's his middle finger to you. His middle finger to me is no Cyberpunk into Game Pass. So yeah, I was very wrong. Very wrong indeed. But I do have it on Xbox. I should play it. I kind of want to double dip and just get it on. I want to play on PC, Donnie.
I'm telling you, I'm playing it. It's fucking amazing.
Yeah. I'm pausing Starfield. I think I'm waiting for maps. I'm waiting for maps, dude. I'm waiting for DLSS. I'm waiting for ultra wide support. I'm waiting for them to actually release that game. So I think maybe Cyberpunk.
What is this thing you keep saying you're waiting for maps? What's coming? What's the map?
They said that they're going to have like maps for like ground surface level maps. If you walk around, there's not, and you're in a building, there's no map that goes, this is what is in this room. This is like like just a map, like for what a building is. You just like, if you hit map, the map button,
it's like a topo map,
kind of, but it's like there's maybe
just elevation,
barely. Yeah, that's it.
Wow, that's
so you can't. I want to know like where are the vendors and where are the characters, and so there's no mini map. There's almost nothing. It's crazy. It's actually nuts.
It's funny. Dev and I I was saving this for the podcast next week, but Dev jumped into the DMs earlier and he was like, dude, Cyberpunk. I was like, I know.
Oh,
I know.
Yeah.
It's really good.
I might have to do it. I might just do
I'm having a blast. I am having a blast. I will tell you this.
I'll go buy money for Cyberpunk and not play these free games from the library. Just talk
That's true. We're going to talk about on the show this week, but I'll tell you this. As somebody who started and stopped this game a bunch of times, I've played it and completed this game. I'm shocked at how I'm playing mostly the same thing and having a very different experience.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I'm like literally like story beats, everything is all the same. But the way that I'm playing, how I'm playing, who I'm playing as, the dialogue choices, the decisions I'm making, they're all different. And it's making a world of difference.
Dang. I love that. Yeah, I might have to do this. Yarden says Cyberpunk is so good. Best video game redemption story ever, probably. I mean, it's there. It joins the ranks of No Man's Sky. It's not an original thought, but it's there. And No Man's Sky is definitely getting a nice Starfield boost right now. People are playing it because, definitely. Yeah,
I don't pay any attention to those things.
Sean, is it Sean Murray was saying not too long ago? It's like they had another all-time high of
good for
players. Them. Or something like that.
I think maybe once people realized that you couldn't fly around Starfield, they were like, okay, we'll just go back.
Totally. All the things that you cannot do.
I can't believe you're putting it on the shelf, but I mean, I guess it makes sense.
I can't believe it either.
Waiting for more things, but like you were. So like two things. I feel a little validation not being that interested in it because it does feel like it's going to kind of come and go. But at the same time, I'm really proud of we have a spoiler channel in the Discord, and we've got like 6 people that are playing Starfield, and they are fucking loving Starfield, and then like they just keep sharing ships and talking about it's like it's not for me, but I'm like really happy watching them because like we see all these things where things get like, especially first party things, get overanalyzed and pulled apart and all the things. And there have been lots of things said about Starfield, and I'm just happy that instead of listening to any and all of that, there are people that are just like, I'm playing because I love it, and I'm just going to keep playing it, and that just makes me happy.
It found a really good spot. As maybe Cyberpunk is the first thing to come along to really start to like take attention away from it. But I feel like it found at least a couple of weeks where it got to own some space. I just learned that if I post from Melon here, that it shows up as PSVG, so it looks like PSVG just posted a link. But this is what he's saying: 7 years in, and No Man's Sky is having its biggest month in the last few years across all platforms, PC, Xbox, Game Pass, Switch, PlayStation, Mac, and VR. Welcome to the community. So a lot of people jumping in just because space.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. And good for them. I love the way that they handled it too. Like that's why I kind of give the nod to Hello Games, because they launched that game, the internet exploded, and they just went to work. They didn't say anything. They didn't do it. Like they just went to fix it, I guess. And I don't know. I feel like that was better in a certain way.
They made enough money that they could apparently continue to work on it.
For sure. Yeah.
And that's got to be like, that's the difference, I think, between that story and a lot of other stories. I don't think a lot of other like stories have that option.
Like Anthem is another example of like, I don't know, just not good. Like they just went like, here's what we're going to do. And we promise you we're going to make it better. And I just felt like the way that and they should have had like, the backing of EA, and it was BioWare and all these things. But I like the way like Sean Murray didn't come out and say like, oh, here's our 3-year plan and here's what it is. Like none of us knew what the hell they were doing at all. And then all of a sudden they had whatever that first expansion was. I feel like they've got it.
I've never played it.
You would hate it. You would have.
I think that's why I've never played it.
You liked Valheim? You like that? Like kind of. Yeah, it's kind of a spacey sci-fi version of the Tree Knocker games. Is that what you called them?
It's a Tree Puncher, Sean.
Tree Puncher. I'm sorry, not a knocker.
And I was playing a Tree Puncher. I think I can say it now. I don't think a lot of people listen to
Tree Knocker.
I'm a little confused. If I played a beta where I couldn't talk about it, but the beta's over, can I talk about it? Are you just like sworn to secrecy forever?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, how does that work? I
don't know.
Fuck it. It's over, and I'm just going to talk about it. I don't think we're that popular. Yeah. I played Return to Moria.
Okay. Yeah.
The Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
Tree Puncher.
Yep.
It is Lord of the Rings Valheim, and it's fucking dope.
Oh, nice.
It's so good. I can't wait to buy the game and play it. It was a lot of fun.
See,
it was a lot of fun.
I just don't think you I don't think you and space really connect. I don't think.
No, it doesn't. And with no, I mean, I don't know. I can't speak to No Man's Sky. You're right. It's the space for sure. But at the same time, with the Tree Punchers, again, the thing that I'm addicted to is the constant upgrade loop, the progression. It's the progression. It's the loop of progression.
That's
that grind.
That's No Man's Sky.
Mm-hmm. But paired with combat.
Mm-hmm.
See, but it's the progression loop. The always be progressing. Yeah. Always gaining experience. Always gaining the next item. Always doing the thing. But with combat and a story. You're doing this. But you're doing that. It's the Cult of the Lamb thing. I find that shit addictive. It's always progress, get the next thing, get a little better, but then go kick ass and have fun with a video game, right?
Yes.
It's those two things paired together that I think is kind of this sweet, the Venn diagram where I exist perfectly in the middle.
Yep.
And that's the thing where the tree punch, that's why I'm not into Minecraft. Because you talk to tree punch, I'm pretty certain that the term tree puncher is a Minecraft term.
That makes sense.
That people have applied to other games. And when I say I like tree punchers, I'm specifically thinking of Valheim.
Yeah.
Moria. I don't like Minecraft at all.
Yeah.
But it's
that's like me saying I like kart racers, but I really just like Mario Kart.
Oh, and I do love kart racers.
And I know you do. We would say that in a different way for sure. It's
but I have standards for kart racers. That's the hard part. I've played so many and been let down. Wanting them to be good.
Yeah. I like golf games too. You like golf games, but not all golf games. It can't just be golf.
It's a standard.
Right.
Got to be pretty good.
It's interesting. I find myself constantly, I think as we all do, just because we podcast and we talk about it, we're always evaluating our approach to games. And I always encourage people to keep an open mind, and you are one of those people, and
open
Court
to change,
is fighting it. Yeah, I always want you to be open to it. And Court gave it a good try, and he's like, "No, I'm doubling down. I'm not going outside of what I like anymore," and that's totally fine. And then I found myself playing.
I tried that with the Division Heartland. I've wanted to like the Division for so long, and I keep trying and trying and trying and trying and trying and trying, and it just isn't it.
Yeah,
it just isn't the vibes. Is what my daughter would say. I just can't
the vibes.
Can't get into it as much as I want to.
Well, I'm playing a game called Dodgeball Academia. Donnie.
I've heard of that game.
I haven't had a chance to really talk about this anywhere else. And some games, Starfield was really one of these. Some games you just play and you lose hours. And then some games you're like, am I playing this because I've told myself to stay open-minded for games?
Yeah.
It's not exactly a...
Yeah, I don't have that.
If
I'm not liking it, I bail. This sucks.
I'm is there? And then it sucks.
I'll go on my podcast, my Nintendo podcast of years, and I'll just crush F-Zero 99 before it ever comes out. Game of the year, I'm told. People apparently fucking love this game.
Okay, well, it's not terrible. It's game of the year. That's how this works.
People love this game. I've been hearing nothing but praises about F-Zero 99 all week.
I do like it. Yeah,
and I just laugh. I just laugh at myself. I'm like, yeah, that's me, just trashing on everybody's favorite game with no reason, just because I don't want to like it.
That's it. Well, that's kind of malicious.
It's me. I don't like F-Zero. I just don't. I've tried it. I know I don't, and I'm fairly certain if I tried F-Zero 99, I still wouldn't like it.
Yeah, no, any of these 99 games are kind of it's like The Mask. You put the mask on, Jim Carrey movie, and it's times 100. It's amplified.
It looked insane.
Yeah,
it looked insane.
It is, and it's just...
Sorry, I interrupted you, and I didn't mean to, but you just jogged my memory. I was like, I'm open to change, except for when it comes to Final Fantasy and F-Zero, apparently. And then I'm like, fuck those games.
Well, there's always a limit. Yeah, I think even for the most open-minded gamer or whatever it is, there's always going to be, I think...
Everybody has their veto.
Yeah. Well, and what I'm just trying to think about, when you like a game, you just play it. And when I'm playing Dodgeball Academia, I just don't know, am I not familiar enough with the genre to really just groove into it? I'm not sure exactly what it is. And the funny thing is, I think you might actually kind of dig it. It actually kind of reminds me of Golf Story in a way.
Nice.
It's kind of got this light story RPG, go around, meet the characters. They've got cool things for you to do. And there's a bunch of main quests, side quests. And it's all kind of with this sports underpinning. You get to play little battles of dodgeball with people. And as I go along, the abilities are leveling up and I can get different equipment, and it's got like cool mechanics. And I'm still too early to like, people are going to listen to this and go like, he hates Dodgeball Academia. It's not the point I'm actually trying to make. The point I'm actually trying to make is,
I think people are going to listen to this and go, what the hell is Dodgeball Academia?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think it was on Game Pass for a while. It was one of the, I picked it up on Switch so I could play it wherever I was going. But it's a cute, like great art style. Very interesting. And I'm just trying to figure out, like, is it just timing thing? Is it because I'm playing it when I'm exhausted?
I think Golf Story was a time and place thing for me, because there's a very similar game called RPG Golf. And I just didn't like that at all. And it's like the same thing. And I think there is like, Golf Story is very funny. There is a lot of humor and wit and creativity in its dialogue and in its stories, both for like golf fans and then like general pop culture making fun of golf.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, there's like a lot of things like that. And the second game, Sports Story, didn't capture any of that.
Right.
Yeah. So I do think for at least for me on that track, I very much time and place. That game just got it.
Yeah.
It's like the perfect swirl.
Dev says, Sean, you don't like the game, and that's okay. Move along and go play something that you do like. I think
I was hearing that you liked the game. I couldn't have taken a different approach from what you were telling me.
Right. Exactly. Like I don't think that it's that. And I guess what I'm trying to fight against is if I go by that methodology, that mindset, I'm playing like 4 games for the rest of my life.
That's where Dev is. It doesn't surprise me at all that would be Dev's methodology. That's Dev.
That makes
You're not
sense.
listen to Dev. This is just what Dev does, man.
Definitely, just go play what you like. Like, well, then I'm.
It's John 32 here. I'm expecting Shaq to give me all the shit like this week.
Yeah,
because I know everybody likes F-099, and I'm not going to back down.
I'm not trying to like. He says it sounds like you're trying to force yourself to play it. I love that.
I didn't get that impression.
I'm just trying to figure out what it is, really, and I'm really caught by. Sometimes you fire up a game and you're like, this is it. I guess the other thing too, Donnie, is like, it's not like Starfield, there's this anticipation is an example. Forza will be like this as well. There's all this hype and you play and you're like, yes, it's here. I'm playing it. And when you play a game that's kind of been in your backlog for a little while, you've been aware of this and you just kind of decide, I'm going to get to it now. You don't have that built in. You don't have this like, yes, it's here.
You're playing in anonymity.
Totally. And there's no conversation around it. I'm not playing it like for like a video game book club, like our backtrackers, right? Like there's no purpose for it.
There's no
actually,
content.
as I talk about this, like same thing with The Last Story, which was a Wii game, a Wii RPG.
True.
You would hate this, but same thing. Old game, bad controls, boring characters. But what is it? Is it because it's completely outside of some sort of hype bubble? I'm not sure. I'd like to think that one I have a pretty solid lockdown on. I think it's a pretty bad game, actually. And I'm not trying to say that for Dodgeball Academia. It's just interesting of what energy are you bringing into a game when you first start playing it, and what is the game kind of giving back to you? When I go back to my roots and I play something like Space Marine or Bolt Gun, it's like, hell yeah, I get it, because I play a lot of games like this and it's giving me the feelings
you played Space Marine. Did you get the chainsaw sword?
No, I'm still super early.
You got to get to the chainsaw.
Like couple chapters in, so
that's not that far away.
It's got that's how
you got to start hashing, dude. Yeah. It's so much fun.
Yeah,
you start going to a group of people and you start cutting people in half, and blood's going everywhere, and you're shooting people. Man. It's so good.
I expected cover shooting on that one. I expected to like jump into cover and kind of do the over the shoulder.
It's got cover moments. You can take cover if you want. I never do.
No, that's good.
I just kick people in the face.
It's faster that way.
I don't really do that in Gears either. Like, you've got to kill me a few times before I give up.
Oh, I feel like Gears is all cover. I feel like it's
fuck
just like
yourselves.
Roadie run.
All cover if you're scared. If you're not, if you buck, Sean, let's go.
I guess that's me. Just a scaredy cat and
give me a Nasher, get me rolling. Fuck these guys.
God, man. Give me like a nice give me a Marcus Phoenix collection. God, it's my
we already have that. Have our upgraded that, like, how much better could those versions get?
Give me the anniversary collection. The anniversary, like, the thing is that Microsoft has already established how to do remasters, and it's the Halo anniversary. Those are excellent.
That would be great.
Give me those. And maybe it's because it's Halo. It's the only way that actually makes sense. But
I mean, I would want full blown from the ground up remakes.
Yeah, that's not what Halo Anniversary. I mean,
that's Halo not what, and that's not what the Gears 1 Enhanced Edition was either.
Right.
You know, that was like an up-res. I don't want another up-res. Like, the games are fine. They're playable. They're totally playable as is now.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't really, and we've heard about this forever, this idea of a Gears collection. I'm just like, what is it though? Is it just more up-res game? Like, okay. But like, they're already kind of that.
Yeah.
You know, like, they've done about as much as they can automatically to make those games as best as possible. I think it's like just multiplayer.
Maybe
you could bring all the multiplayer back online, and I think that would be helpful for people. That doesn't that doesn't appeal to me much at all.
I don't know. When
Get
I
one
think
of those
about Gears
sweet
and
new pants controllers with Gears paint on it.
Dude, those the control
they're hideous.
That can't be it.
I think it is.
There's no way. They can't be. No.
I was thinking the two-tone though may not be what it is. That there was in two tones to show you the black or the white model. Like, I was kind of
I was hoping for.
That's what I don't know if that's hopium. Or are we just praying that like that's the outcome?
Yeah.
Is that what that is? Because like I think that's it. And that thing is
why wouldn't, as a product shot, you show the two versions of it?
It's so ugly. It's so ugly.
It's so bad.
And I think I can see it. There's somebody on the equipment team at Xbox. They're sitting around like a briefing table, and he's like, look, if we make the controller white and black, then we can just put it in the boxes for both consoles. And nobody was smart enough to be like, no, nobody wants that. We sell controllers in white and black. We need controllers in white and black.
Oh my gosh. Make the controllers like, you know what I would actually rather see, which is still a terrible thing? Just make it like the dress, like the blue or gold dress or whatever the hell. Like, just make it that. Make it somehow like that people argue over what color it is. Do that. Just set the internet ablaze. Like, nobody can tell what the hell this color is.
It's green. It's gold.
That's what you say.
No,
terrible.
I was very let down when I saw that. I was like,
I feel like they've had it. And maybe that's what people in PlayStation Land enjoy, is like just totally change up the controller from the DualShock 3 to the DualShock 4 to the DualSense. Like, it's pretty different. They'll tell you that it's the same, but those are quite, you hold those controls, you go from the DualShock 3 especially to the DualSense, like, it's not the same. Not the dress. But like, I like the X. I don't want, I fear change. I don't want them to change it up. I don't want it to feel different. They've nailed it in my mind. It's good.
It's the OS all over again.
Yeah.
Shoot themselves in the foot for change,
I suppose. Yeah.
Why couldn't they just add haptics to the controller we have?
Yep, that's it.
Why did it need to be redesigned?
Maybe to show that it's different. I don't know. Maybe there has to be some sort of.
I don't need that at all.
Visual, and I agree with you. Like, just
I don't need that.
Stop selling the old ones and
just call it haptics.
Eventually, it becomes the controller.
Exactly.
That's just the way it goes. Oh man, that would be.
I generally don't like. Did you listen to PSVG?
I did. Yep.
So I was talking about this, and I didn't seem to get much support or agreement. The shape of the controller is different. It's a different mold.
I heard you say that. Yeah, and I think you're right about that.
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah, little girthier.
Yeah, and like more horizontal, less like X.
But maybe
I'm doing this, and I realize you can't say it. More this controller, less this controller. You know what I'm saying?
I heard you say that, and I was wondering if that's the optical illusion that the two-tone
pants
is. Yeah, that it
could be that.
For you.
I thought of that too. It could be that doing
it's
like playing tricks on me.
Well, and Ryan pointed out that the refreshed Xbox, like the cylinder thing, like he's like, it could be smaller. I'm like, dude, that's really.
No, man, I'm looking at it. No, it's different.
You think so?
It's different. It is. Yeah, it's more. It has a. Hang on, let me pull up my damn controller.
What is it called?
Because I've got a controller with pants on it. See, I already have one. Look.
Yeah,
new Xbox controller right here. Got it. Brand new. And beta testing it early. It's different, man. I'm telling you, it's a different shape. This doesn't look at all like the Xbox controller we know and love is more angular, not curvy, angular. This almost has
more Stadia.
Yeah.
Kind of Stadia.
It's the Stadia controller. That's exactly it. I don't like it.
Yeah.
Like, I really don't. I don't like it.
And like, I'm wondering if maybe eventually I will. What's the middle button? Is that a
like generally even without the colors? Like, I generally just don't like the controller.
Yeah. You know what, though? I will say I didn't like the Series S.
The middle button, I imagine, is screenshots.
Yeah, I'm realizing that they've kind of just they put it up.
Or it's screenshots, and or like maybe this controller will have profiles.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really don't like this.
Wondering if it'll grow on me. The Series S looked. I thought it was a joke. I'm like, there's no way this is real, because I just thought it was that amateur looking. And I actually, the pictures maybe are one thing. Maybe that's just it. Maybe just the front on view of it versus it in real life.
You see a Stadia.
I actually I like the Series S now.
Here's the thing. I actually like the Stadia controller. I thought it was really nice to hold.
Yeah.
It is Stadia-ish. Like, it really is.
Just
That's
round.
a good call, Sean.
Just round.
And it has that, it's like, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I keep saying horizontally, like it's like kind of flat. Like,
yeah,
you know, across the top, almost like it has legs.
It just doesn't look like it has like a front. Like it just kind of, it's just because it kind of rounds, to your point, like the when it goes from the side to the back, like when it goes from front to side,
it looks like a flat piece that they stuck legs onto, as opposed to like the controller that we have where it goes like this, like it kind of molds down.
Can you hold up your controller as well? I kind of want to see, like, maybe it's the angle of we'll say the legs.
It's this part that's killing me. This part right here, the legs, like, all right.
Yeah.
I'm going to be able to do this. So this part, this curve right here, is much more pronounced. It kind of goes more straight up and straight across.
Yes.
As opposed to having this curve like around. It's more rounded on this side.
I need to see. Like, it's so funny because it is classic optical.
This controller doesn't look flat. That controller has like a flatness to it.
Yeah.
I don't like
a wide, like, crotch.
Like, I really don't like it.
We don't like the crotch of this new controller.
I saw it and I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
No, Xbox, don't do this to me.
Please.
And the funny thing is, you were spot on. The Stadia controller was the same.
But maybe it just jives with the round cylinder. The like,
it's a Stadia controller with offset sticks.
Yeah. Yes, I mean maybe that's
honestly, if you switch the D-pad and the stick on the new controller, it's a Stadia controller.
Stadia, yeah.
Like, it is a Stadia controller.
We didn't actually mention that.
I didn't even think of that when I saw it, but that's spot on. It's a Stadia controller, and I actually like the Stadia controller. It felt nice in the hands. So maybe if I go hands on with it, maybe it's better. I hate the look.
Okay. Yeah,
I wish it didn't look like that. Why can't it just be one flat piece of plastic? Why do they have this textured grip pants on it?
I don't know, man. Oh, look at this. I'm looking at The Verge, and they're kind of controlling, or they're showing a bunch of different controllers, and there's the Steam controller. So at least it's not that.
Oh, I guess that's true. It could be worse. It could have touchpads.
Stadia, yeah. Oh man, Xbox.
That leak, though, just in general. What a wild thing that happened in video games.
Imagine just like waking up. What is waking up in the morning for, like, on Team Xbox? If you're Phil, if you're anybody on the team, just going like, what have you got for me today, universe? Like, what's next?
It's going to be furious. I do feel, I feel some sympathy and sadness for whatever paralegal uploaded this document.
Oh,
you know, I can only imagine they're just like so up, like killing themselves over this. But honestly,
so? I wonder.
The thing that I tried to bring to our show was just ultimately, it's wild that it happened, and it is big news, but it is mostly things that I think everybody knew.
Agreed. Yeah,
it's not really all that surprising.
It'd be interesting to see it if it was like documents that were as of July.
I would have never guessed that that's what the Xbox like update would look like, but had you told me that's what it looked like, I'd have been like, that's possible.
Yep.
Like, it's not out there or anything. It's like, oh yeah, this is totally, I'm upset. I did want to talk to you about this. I'm upset that we're not getting the half Series X that we wanted.
Agreed. Yes.
Isn't that a bummer?
Yeah. Well, and that's what kind of Ryan was pointing to. And like the specs do say, or
I just wanted to take the Series S and like lop a third off of it up the top. Make it a little cube. I want the Series X by GameCube.
Yeah.
That's all I really wanted.
Like, what are the dimensions of this thing? That doesn't.
I think it should be mostly the same size.
You think
I think it'd be a little shorter. So the thing that I've learned, and honestly, I'm just pulling from things that I've listened to other people say, is I don't think, I've said this a bunch on PSVG. The PlayStation 5 is ripe for revision because there's a lot of space in that console. If you take one of those apart, there's a lot of room. There's just places to do stuff.
Yeah.
The Series X doesn't have that. The Series X is a dense, compact little piece of thing.
It really is.
There is shit on top of shit on top of shit.
Yeah.
So like, unless they're literally removing entire components like a disk drive, there's not a whole lot of space to take advantage of.
Yeah.
Right. Like you're like that's the problem with the Series X. And I don't think it's a problem because I personally love the way the Series X is designed. It has like this very nice utilitarian kind of clever, like design. It's everything just kind of stacked on and it works and it pulls air from the bottom up. Like it's like, this is good. Yeah. What a great little design.
Honestly, like that notion to what you just touched on, it's like, how has this not been the thing the entire time? Like it's really just because the NES looked as it looked.
Dev says they did remove this. That's what I was saying. I think it'll be a little shorter. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it might be a little shorter because of the disk drive. They're removing some parts.
Sure, you're not going
to maybe save some
Slim.
Space, but there's nothing else really in there that they have the luxury of downsizing. Even if they do a die shrink, like the heat sink, maybe they save a little space there.
That's what I'm saying.
Maybe they could go to a slightly smaller fan, especially if they take out the disk. Like, see, like, but I don't think it's going to be half the size.
Disk drive is not insignificant. Disk drives are pretty massive.
Yeah, they're pretty bulky
in there. And the fact that it doesn't generate, let's talk about this a little bit on the Xbox Drive, generates, it doesn't require as much power, which means it's going to generate less heat. So heat sink, smaller.
So I think they could save the fan, like everything could shrink a little. So I'm thinking we get a slightly less wide console and a slightly less tall console. Like I think the new console could basically fit inside the old console. Yeah. But I think for most people, the footprint will be relatively similar.
I want to, I'm going to start my,
did you ever think about like, you can't put this sideways anywhere?
Good. We did talk about that on the Xbox Drive.
Okay.
And just roll.
We didn't, but I just think it just didn't get to me. But yeah,
I'm not sure if I can actually do this. I'm gonna start a rumor right here, Donnie. Under the consoles picture here has what is clearly the Series X, and next to it, you'll tell me this is a Series X, but I'm gonna say this is the refresh and how much smaller it is.
No, I don't think it's gonna be that much smaller. Yeah, that's the S.
That's an S.
That's the S.
No way. Give us the
the new console I think is bigger than the S.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
It's gonna be bigger than the S. But I do think it would probably fit inside of our current Series X.
Yeah. Okay, how do I turn this off? I don't.
No, they're probably gonna send you one. But if they weren't sending you one, would you get one?
I don't know if they will. I'm not counting on. We're not that cool anymore.
I'm not interested in this console at all.
Probably not. Like 2 terabytes is like, what do you get? Like
I already have the expansion card.
So do I. Yeah.
Mine's already 2 terabytes.
I don't want Wi-Fi. Like I
mine's plugged in.
So I'm not. Like, what are you really?
I watch movies on mine.
I do watch movies on mine too. Like I actually, people.
I exclusively watch my horror movies on the TV that my Series X is hooked up to because of that 4K Blu-ray drive.
Yeah. That's a shame. That's a real shame because when I look at other options for anybody who might even want to have a 4K Blu-ray player, they're so expensive. You know,
this is a good question. We didn't even address on the show. Dev asked, "Do you think we'll be able to upgrade the store?" I think it'll still use expansion card.
Definitely, most definitely.
Yeah, I know people don't like it, but they're married to this expansion card. They're not going to just suddenly come in with and you can have NVMe SSD cards now. I don't think they're going to do that.
I feel like it would have to change. Like how the whole structure of games are even made, like how the OS works and everything. Apparently, you just logged into Steam playing Kakarot.
That's my son. He's on my Ally.
Oh, okay.
He's been on
a multitasking.
My son has been on a damn Dragon Ball Z kick of late.
I love it.
He's asking me our favorite characters. He's watching all my DVDs. Yes. He's playing the thing on my Game Boy. He asked me if I had Kakarot. I was like, I've got it on Steam because he wanted to play it on Switch. I don't think we have the cartridge anymore. So I had him playing that. I did pick up Marvel's Avengers for him.
Nice. Yeah, I bought that too.
Yeah, it's like what, $2 or something like that.
Well, yeah, I think it was $4 or $5 here. Yeah.
So I was like, I'll go ahead and get this for Jack now so he can play it. But he's enjoying my Ally. He's been playing it literally all day. Yes. I haven't had access to my Ally in 48 hours.
Man, getting close. I'm getting close, Donnie.
But I don't think they'd have to change anything. I think they could swap to the SSD if they wanted to. Maybe like some some change in design or SKUs. I think developers have to take into account for it. And I just don't think they want to do any of that. I think they went to the proprietary card for reasons. And it's probably overhead reasons, accessory reasons. I don't think they're going to change just for Twitter trolls on the internet.
Agreed. And I feel like you kind of have to remember when these decisions were made. Like, I remember when PlayStation's like, there will be new hard drives that you'll be able to install and you'll do it yourself. And I remember thinking, like, that's not a good solution. I remember wondering, when will that happen? There's so much uncertainty to it that I didn't like. For me, I didn't like it. And if
we have to remember, all of us have to remember that most people will never ever crack open their thing ever.
Agreed.
They won't buy a card for it. They won't swap an SSD. Like, that is literally a gaming enthusiast thing.
Totally.
And in that regard, I don't think Xbox thinks that there's like I don't think they're like, we'll make a bunch more money if we let people do SSD. No, they won't. It's literally negligible. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yes, agreed.
So, you know what it'll change? It'll change that they won't see a dime of overhead from their memory card sales versus people going to Western Digital buying it directly from them. That's all that will change.
There's something to this, like, where, you know, there's obviously different segments of players.
Dev, you can join the show if you want to.
That'd be fun. Yeah, that'd be great. Jump on in.
He's been in the chat the whole time. You just want to join the show, let me know.
It's interesting, like, where these platforms gain their success and they gain their momentum. Like Switch, it could be argued that it launched with Zelda and a whole bunch of gaming people who travel anyways. Like, it was just this perfect mix, and that got things going. But ultimately, it's not like a gamer's device. Like, it's not hardcore in any way. But in some cases, it's like you need to go casual. You need to speak to the casual gamer to find that success. In some cases, you need to speak to the hardcore people of the podcasting crew, the content creators, so that they'll talk about it and you get momentum in that way. And I think it's a really interesting thought exercise to go through and go, like, who do you target with what strategies? To your point about, like, is somebody going to open a thing up so they can expand the storage? That's PlayStation's method. Or do you do what Xbox did and do it that way?
We talked about like how few even like the Series X sold, or I mean, not the Series X, but the Xbox One X sold, and the PlayStation Pro. Like, these very enthusiast things, like the Elite control, like these aren't things that have like widespread adoption. Like, the only people that are upset about those are like the people that own both, and that like want to put the SSD in theirs. But like, in the grand scheme of how many people have there, I mean, here's the other thing. We're talking the grand scheme. The grand scheme told us that 75% of these people were playing on Series S. So they actively bought the console with the least amount of storage.
Right. Well, and that's what I was thinking, is like, it's a self-selecting kind of thing, actually.
Yeah, it's not that big of a deal. I get that one's a little bit more expensive, but like, it's not so up in arms that we're like,
that's the thing.
We're going to change.
Yes.
The Vita thing, though, was egregious. That's the difference. Like,
agreed, but it's close enough. Like, I look, I'm 1,000% with you. I'm just kind of trying to guess what the internet is doing here, and to me, it's like, it's close enough. You're trying to make the same, so they make it exactly the same. You know, because you're right. Like, we look at some of those prices. I'm trying to think, like, a 64. Yeah, but
here's the thing, man. The Vita memory card were like $150 for like 32 gigabytes. That's what I'm trying to tell you. 4 games.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's not the same. You're paying $100, $120, $150 for a 1 terabyte card.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And they have cheaper ones.
Yeah.
That's not the same. Those aren't apples and apples.
I think I totally agree.
Especially because you don't even have to use them. You can just hook up an external hard drive and transfer your games over if you just want to have more installed.
That's true too. Yeah,
like that option exists there the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but who wants to get into details when you're busy slamming a console and the choices that they make?
I mean, I'm not faulting PlayStation for using their SSD at all. Like, that's awesome too. Like, that's their solution. Xbox doing a different method. One is more expensive than the other, but I'm not like trying to make a mountain out of molehill. I think this is a very small detail for most people's experience. I don't think this is something. The point I'm trying to make is, I would be shocked if they were like, we've changed the entire console now, so you can, like, now you can pop in your own SSD. Totally. Like, I don't think that's going to happen at all.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, because they already have the ports that are made. They've already manufactured the cards. They have more manufacturers. No, they're just going to keep doing what they do. You're talking about like they would change the way they make the consoles.
Yes. Yeah.
To adapt to like now you can put your own SSD in there.
Not even just the hardware, but wouldn't you have to change the software too?
I think it would make more sense for them to make an adapter, like an expansion card, like case that you could put an SSD in.
Yep.
And then plug it. Like, I think that would be a better option than letting you put it in the console.
It would have to be like a laptop NVMe.
Like an enclosure.
Right? Those are even different.
Like if they made an enclosure that hooked into the slot on the Series X.
Imagine, now we're getting into it.
So I think that would make more sense than, and this console allows you to take a completely different storage medium.
Dev says then you lose the speed. I'm not sure why that would be the case. Like that's the same as... Like that's what it is now. You have an enclosure around what I imagine is a laptop NVMe.
I think if you crack open the expansion cards, I think that's basically what's inside there. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like, so why would you?
I think people have done that. Haven't people done that? There was a guy on YouTube that created his own Xbox expansion card and plugged it in
Xbox
out of an SSD. That's a thing. People have done that.
I'm sure of it.
I'm sure you probably lose some speed. I don't think it's all that. And I think they could probably, make it away.
Well, this is the whole thing about the pipeline of the architecture.
It would depend on the SSD that you're using.
Xbox isn't built Xbox isn't, the storage is not built on Gen 4 NVMe drives. That's just that, or Gen even 5, if you want to call it that. Like that's not, they don't have the Mark Cerny factor on storage speed. Do you know what I'm saying? So like, yes, you would lose speed if you picked up a Gen 4 Plus drive and then plugged it into an Xbox because it's not built for that. It's like if you bought like a USB 6, it's like these are USB 3 ports. Like it's not built for that. It's not gonna receive it. So then you can get the cheaper option.
I'm not interested in. I think I would buy a new Series S before I bought that Series X2.
Just to have a second, like another.
Just to have a second box.
Yeah. 2 terabytes is no joke. And then that's the other piece is that maybe this isn't even a conversation at all because you bought a console with 2 terabytes worth of storage. So who cares after that?
True. Yeah. What if it didn't have a slot at all?
Yeah, it seems weird to like remove the option.
Oh no, I'm just saying like, I'm literally just throwing it out there for chaos sakes.
That would be chaos. I also think
on the back, there has to be like a flat piece for ports and IO, right? Like they can't just be circular all the way around.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
Anyway. Like it would, how would you do that? Like you have some sort of like motherboard, like it's got to have a flat kind of.
It's got to have a flat piece on the backside.
Yeah.
Like an indentation.
Unless it's just I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.
But that's the only thing left to our imagination at this point, thanks to this leak. Is
do you think all of the Twitter backlash leads them to allowing some sort of external drive option?
No. Like what PlayStation does?
I don't know. So. We haven't seen them do it yet, but the idea of having an external drive option. My thing with Xbox, my biggest thing with Xbox, the company, is that I think they're feedback driven. I think they put too much weight into consumer feedback and analytics they can pull from open source. And I think they make too many decisions based on that. When I saw everybody losing their minds about an all digital console and game present, like I immediately. And I'm wondering if they even open it up.
I'm sorry.
I wonder if they even open it up. It's PC based. If they're like, hey, knock yourselves out. Go buy a Dell disk drive and plug that bad boy in.
Yes. Yeah. I completely changed my answer. I thought we were still talking about storage, like media. I'm off the storage card. Plug in an external Blu-ray. Yes, I do think that. And
even if they don't make their own, if they just allow the option, just like they did with mouse and keyboard. Remember, they're like, now you can just use your mouse and keyboard.
Yep.
So they just add some drivers to the kit, and they're like, you know what? Fuck it. If you care that much, just plug a DVD drive into it.
Totally. Yeah, I think that would be excellent. Yeah, I think there's enough precedent in some sort of way for that to be a thing. And I also think PlayStation's going to do the same thing, by the way. Like that's been rumored. They'll have some sort of, I think that'll be a thing. They don't have to make.
I was excited to see it.
Yeah.
The longer we go without seeing it, the more I'm just like, was that not a thing?
maybe it just comes
Maybe
out
delayed.
with whatever the next refresh
Maybe
is.
It's not coming out till next year.
The frustrating thing for me is if Xbox does a thing in a certain specific set of ways, it means this for Xbox, and if PlayStation does, it's like, oh well, it's okay for them because they did it in this very specific set of ways.
It's got a USB slot. Dev, it's got a couple of them, and C slots, but it's got a USB-A slot. I think it's got a couple. It's got one on the front and 2 on the back.
2 in the back, 2 3.0, maybe 3.1.
I don't remember.
I can't remember, but yeah, definitely see. Yeah, you could do it. You could definitely do it, and especially it would just
be driver support. They would just have to make it work, but you could do it. They could make it work in probably a day. And I'm not even saying that like throwing it away. Like they're Microsoft. That's what they do. They could literally probably flash it in a day, and it would work if they wanted to.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, and to your point, like
we could probably put it in dev mode and we could make it work.
It's kind of about time that they do something like that, like because you're right to call them out for making decisions based on feedback like that, but it does give them those moments of
that's just their that's their history. They do that. Mm-hmm. You can't say that they don't do that. It's just been proven that they do.
Well, they're very better or worse.
It's not always a negative, but they're very reactive to consumer demand.
Yeah. Well, sometimes like that's what got you the Kinect.
It got them to Kinect. It's got them with Gold. It got them with Halo. Like it, and like it isn't always good. It's not always bad. It is what it is.
Yeah.
They more than the other ones. At least that's objectively true. More than their competitors, they are reactive to consumer demand. Nintendo just put shit out there and be like, "Suck it. We don't give a shit."
Yeah. Check out that eShop and the OS. You know,
they're like, we do not care. Whine about it. Stay mad. Like, where Xbox is like, oh, we upset you? Let us change everything we've been working on for a year to make that not the case.
Meanwhile, 25 million copies of Ring Fit Adventure get sold? Like, who cares?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Not that there's anything wrong with that game.
I'm just wondering if there is an element to this, not that they didn't do this on their own, but there is an element to this where somebody in the Xbox team sat around and started pulling again. They're driven off analytics. They started pulling analytics. Here's the reception to the new controller, the new console, our path forward. Like they're working on that now.
That's what I'm wondering. Like, how do they there has to be some sort of benefit to this catastrophe. There has to be something.
That's the benefit. Yeah. Is that they are now prepping for how people will receive these plans that they have. And now they have time to change if they want to make changes.
Compared to the focus test that they ran that got them to the point where they were. You know,
their focus test that told everybody Redfall was awesome.
Exactly. Yeah.
100%. Right.
Just fire all the market research that they've got because it's all wrong.
Yeah. Correct.
Maybe. Yeah.
So, and that's what I kept on our show. I just kept trying to reiterate that, like, this was some time ago. Plans may have changed.
Yeah.
Plans still can change.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are people expecting a new controller to drop in a month. I'm like, we don't know any of that to be true at all. That controller may not show up next year for all we know. Like nobody knows. Like this isn't set in stone by any means. This is a presentation that was made 2-3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm sure half of that next gen was just buzzwords on a PowerPoint.
It's kind of seemed like it.
Yeah. Like half of that shit probably won't come through. We've seen that with every next generation thing when they talk. Like everybody wants to do something and then you start making it and you start evaluating costs and what happens? You start cutting away, you start chipping away at it, right? Like everybody wants to make a super powerful, most powerful PC ever. And you're like, well, how do we sell these at $3,000 each? Exactly. All right, well, let's start cutting some shit out of it. You know, like that's,
I mean, this is the thing. And as time goes on, Donnie, it does seem like we get more and more access. We get to see more, like the curtain continues to get pulled more and more. We get to look a little bit more behind. But it's still not the full story. And it gives this illusion that we know what's happening. Like anybody commenting on the industry, it's like, oh, now we know. Now we get how
they could have completely. Here's the thing. They could have gotten wind in the last 6 months that PlayStation has a PlayStation 5 Pro that they're readying, and Xbox could be readying a counter to that.
Totally.
And we have no idea. And everybody's like, I guess they're never going to make one. And then a year from now, they might announce one. We don't know. Yeah. We don't know that not to be true, but we don't know that to be true either. Like we don't know. Things change.
That's what I'm saying. Like we still don't see. This looks like the whole picture because we haven't seen anything like this.
And vice versa. Again, this isn't to be like, any sort of like console proponent. And vice versa, PlayStation could have saw these emails and been like, I guess they're not going to make a Series X1, let us make a pro console. let's maybe they weren't making one and they're like, Mark Cerny's like, no, now we need to make one.
Like, who knows? Do you do with this? Nobody knows. Competitor, what do you do with this information? That's really that's way more interesting than literally anything any of us could possibly say. Is like, what do you do with this? If you're PlayStation,
they might be changing plans. Again, it's all relative. Like nobody knows.
That's the true evaluation here of
in PlayStation
what it is.
If I was sitting in PlayStation's chair, would they change plans? No. Why would they? They're 100% in top of the walk. And if you're in Nintendo's plan, you're just laughing. Like, why would they change anything either? No, they're done.
Yeah, there's just like
and in Nintendo's case, they're too far down the line anyway, I think, to make changes. They're not worried about anything Xbox is doing.
Yeah, when I guess, like not significant, like, well, let's drop a console. This is the thing, I'd love to learn more about just the way these things are developed. Is there a team that's just like researching what that could be like from a technical standpoint?
Yeah, right? They have R&D teams that are constantly trying to do that.
Like, surely on the next console, I feel like that kind of...
No, even on the current console.
Right.
They're trying to save power. They're trying to save space. They're trying to save costs. Can we re-engineer? Can we save more money? Imagine if you're a PlayStation, you're planning to sell, let's shoot it short, 75 million PlayStation 5s. If you can sell 75 million PlayStation 5s at $20 cheaper than you're currently selling them, that's a lot of money in revenue that you're making up. So they're constantly trying. That's why I'll use the PlayStation 5 as an example. The reason I've constantly brought up PlayStation 5 as like a slim and a revision is because when you see the people tear them down, you're seeing changes being made. They're cutting heat sinks out of it. They're making their fans more fit. Like, they are actively tinkering with this damn thing.
Right.
There's been like 5 different revisions to the model that we have.
Yes.
There's been a bunch of different revisions, and there's regional models and manufacturing differences.
Yep.
So they're tweaking, they're tinkering with it. They're trying.
We've been aware that's not necessarily what I'm after, because we've been aware of that since like the 360 days, and they were trying to get rid of Red Ring of Death. Everybody's like, I need 100%. The Jasper chip. I need the.
Well, in that regard, like that was you've got to fix that. I mean, like
totally.
They have a great product that's selling, and they are actively trying to make it cheaper, more efficient, better.
Definitely. Yeah. That's part of the roadmap for sure. Yeah. It's that's fascinating though. It's just like thinking about what do they do with that information? Also, like they're talking about each other. I don't know. I don't even know if I want to get into the emails, but like
we don't have to talk about it if you don't want to.
No, I'm conflicted about it only because I think that there's a lot of different ways people are have read into the emails. Even the Pete Hines talking about Bethesda games not being able to go on other consoles, but Call of Duty. Did
you take that a different way?
I just looked at him as like, for me, thinking about him in his position, his frustration is not, and this is me just totally speculating here. I think that his frustration wasn't that their games became exclusive. My thought for him was he was frustrated that there's mixed messaging and he doesn't know what they should.
That's my take. That was my take too.
Yeah. People have been like, oh, they're pissed because like developers, why wouldn't developers want their games to be on as many consoles as possible?
I mean, I don't think that can be omitted either. I in my heart of hearts, I think Pete Hines wishes their games were multi-platform. But
I think
that email that you're referring to, that we saw that, I agree with you. I think the context of that email was messaging.
Yes.
It was the messaging on the behalf. Like, hey, we're out here doing this. You're out here doing this. This doesn't look right. Can we do this better? Was my takeaway from that email with Pete Hines.
Because that's what he's living, breathing. He wakes up in the morning, he's like, how do we talk about this? Yeah. Whatever this is.
Yeah, that was my take from that email too.
Wrapping a narrative.
I think that's the correct take from that email.
I think so.
It's his other interviews and what he said about their exclusivity that makes me think that if they could put their games other places, I think they would. I think he would like to.
But I wonder, like, I want to know more. This is a question I have for the universe, I guess. But it seems
I personally wish they would. I mean, I'm on that fence.
Easier to just do one though, isn't it? Like that's the whole thing. It's like, sure, you want it to be played by more people, but isn't it way easier to not have to?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure to some extent it is, but I also don't think these consoles aren't so different that I think it's that crazy to optimize for both. I don't.
Perhaps. It's just it's a whole other like troubleshooting. It's a whole other set of support. But if you're
I think what we generally see is most third-party games are optimized for PlayStation 5 the most, and then they get it working on Xbox. And the reason that is because they don't sell that much on Xbox.
Yeah,
I think you could reverse that trend with Bethesda and optimize for Series X, and then just release the PS5 version that works and works well, but you didn't put a whole lot of time and effort into it.
The thing is, like, we did find out that Bethesda was ready to just make exclusives, or at the very least timed exclusives.
Yeah,
so they could focus on that, just PlayStation.
That's just me personally. I've been on that.
Not like they're against exclusives
since the day they bought them. Since the day they bought them, I said I think they're going to make them exclusive, and I also said I kind of wish they wouldn't. Like I was down for timed exclusivity across Bethesda across the board. I think that makes Xbox the most money. I think that's the most appeal to Game Pass, makes them the most revenue.
PlayStation. Can you imagine?
I would love to see it. I honestly would love to see it.
Yeah, it'd be interesting because I do feel like PlayStation does that where they're not.
The games are received better when they're available to PlayStation consoles.
Yeah,
that's also a thing that's been kind of proven.
That would be fascinating. I wonder how fans would react.
Damn, review score would probably go up a couple notches.
Well, yeah, it'd probably launch with maps too. So
that's true. That's true.
That'd be interesting. Well, some of the emails about like there was one Phil was talking about when PlayStation revealed the PS5, and he's like, "We're in a good spot. Like we've got more power and blah 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 blah." And people are like, "Oh, I can't believe he said that." And it's like, I would say the exact same thing if
that's true though. Like that's not wrong.
Yes,
we've known that.
Like you're responding to the objective truths that were out there. You don't know anything else. Like we're not in the future. You're in that moment, writing that email saying, we made specific choices to build a machine that we've got, and it compares in this way to the machine they just revealed, which we didn't know until just now.
Yeah.
Pretty happy. And why wouldn't you be? I feel like I've written emails in my work as well. Like, oh man, like we're really proud with the work and the decisions, the strategies we've made. And like, here we are, go.
Yeah. Us. And then those are like, it's just like the Nintendo thing. If everybody's emails were made public like that, I think a lot of people would realize that everybody's kind of sending similar emails.
Yes, definitely.
Even like Nintendo is probably sending similar emails.
If you're leading an organization like that or a team, don't you want them to be pumped about what they've got in store?
Of course,
like it's not about console wars or anything. It's not about being
but that's not
anything.
Yeah, that's not how the internet's going to take it.
That's the only reason I actually
can't be mad at that for going that path.
Yeah,
I did think the gaming coverage. The enthusiast press of video games definitely exploited this story for like as much headline clickbait as they could pump out there. There was a lot of that going on.
That's how it's kind of coming across to me, and that's about as pejorative as I can be about it. Is it just seems immature because it goes to the lowest common denominator.
Honestly, I'll withhold some judgment. On one part, I think it's misleading, and I don't like that. On the other side, that's their business and that's what they do, and I can't fault them for it. Like if I was in a similar position, I would probably do something similar. Like if that's that's how they survive and that's how they make
that's tabloids.
But that's kind of what it is. That's why I always personally fall short of calling them journalists. I think they're more influencers. I think all of like games media has really fallen more into, again, enthusiast press.
Yep.
You're really no different than like a YouTuber that's reviewing a comparison or something. Like you're all kind of acting off of the same criteria. There's no above the bar like journalism here.
Objectivity. This is what
I think maybe some of Jason's stuff like reaches above that extra tier. But like the most outlets
still got
the outlets that we're talking about. I mean, he opines and puts his own opinion in things, and that's fine. Like all journalists do that.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the machine, the marketing machine that these things are. They're in that segment. That's what they're doing. They're click me, attention seeking sorts of tactics. So like tabloids. Yeah, they are very much like that. And that's their business. So I don't fault them for doing it, but I will call out that it's misleading people. And if you're if you're just reading headlines, you're not getting the whole story. And I do feel like for the 140 character people of the world, a lot of that can happen too easily. You can just see a headline and that's your takeaway from the story. And it's like, that's not the takeaway.
Queen Elizabeth is still alive. Like what?
The takeaway isn't that that they're desperately trying to buy Nintendo. That's not the right takeaway.
I think
if you read the email, That's not the takeaway at all. Like, that's completely misleading.
I agree. And that's the thing is it's opinion stated as fact. It's not even opinion. It's complete speculation.
Yeah. It's just misleading. It's just misleading. It's a attention grabbing headline. It's just, it's clickbait.
I wanted to ask you about this because Ryan and I were chatting about this, and I was like, maybe this is kind of what leakers experience. And I feel like Jeff Grubb has talked about this. Want to know your opinion on it. Like, this is a thing we all know. We've now been we've been informed. We now have access to information that we probably shouldn't have. It wasn't meant to be 100%. In our hands. We now have it, but plans can change. And I feel like we've been hearing that phrase from leakers. Like, I know a thing, but we've seen plans change, so maybe I shouldn't comment on it. And for those who have regular access to leaked information, you have
to vet it. That's the importance of vetting.
Exactly. Yes.
You may get attached something here, but if you're not vetting it and you're not getting extra sourcing, then you are going out on a limb if you go live with it. And we've seen people get burned.
Right.
And Jeff himself has been burned by running with things too quickly.
So is everybody who's commenting on this, without taking even a second to pause, like, are we all just going to get burnt because we're all, talking about this leak in that kind of way? Like, I'm trying to make some sort of like,
I don't think so. I don't think this falls into that because this isn't rumor. This is self-inflicted, known quantity as of this time. Things can change, and I think that'll be the story. But that'll be the story then. The story then will be that things changed. But right now, you got to react like this is news. This isn't rumor. This is news. Xbox put this out. Like, this doesn't need to be verified. This is as verified as it gets right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to explain.
There's not going to be like any comeuppance if the Xbox Series X2 has a disk drive. They'll just be like, oh, well, we knew in 2023 it was this way. I guess they changed their mind.
I guess what I'm just trying to like figure out how nobody will ever do. Nobody's even going to give this a second thought, to be honest. But like, does it give a little bit of understanding when people attack like the leakers out there, the people who have traditionally been the ones to say like, I know a thing, this is the thing. And then when they're wrong, people attack them for being like clout chasing or whatever. Like, does this maybe give us a little bit more of an inside scoop into the experience of the quote unquote leaker? Yeah. No. And I think that's too bad.
Yeah, no, I think that's
we all get to be a leaker at this point.
It's an admirable thing to put down on record, but is it going to change any behavior on the internet? No.
No, absolutely not.
Not even a little bit. No, it's just like it's how the internet is, right? It just is what it is.
Well, and somebody like the leakers, somebody send them a note, somebody send them a file, they get to look at a thing, and they have to practice some sort of judgment on: do I run with this?
Do I go with this?
Do I run the story? Yeah.
Do you tease it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now we're all that. So it's really, man, now I'm going to look at all games journalism as tabloids.
I've been there for far too long.
Yeah.
I've been there for quite some time now.
I think you're on.
I mean, sometimes a headline is fine because the headline is the story. The game is announced and releasing.
And I get that.
Day.
Look,
but other times the headline isn't.
Basis. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm cognizant. I think I'm cognizant of that when I'm putting our notes together for our show, but not always. Sometimes I'm just not on the mood to dive too deep. And a lot of times I don't think the stories require it. But I think when I come across something that I think is somewhat divisive or controversial, I want to be a little bit more knowledgeable about it before I speak to it.
Always. Yeah.
I don't just want to shoot from the hip on it.
Mm-hmm.
I try to, at least anyways. I try to bring that a lot. I feel like with those sorts of topics on our show, I like to try and bring multiple aspects, multiple angles to the story.
Yeah.
I'd be like, and here's what, these people might think about it, but then there's the opposite case for some people might think this, and here's what we think. I try to be very clear on that.
Yeah. Yeah. You do a good job of that for sure.
Yeah. But sometimes, honestly, there are some days where I'm just like, I don't have the energy for it. I just throw in a couple headlines and I read them and we just get through it.
That makes sense. And maybe that does explain the rest of it as well, as like, there's so much to cover. Imagine if that's the other piece too. That's a good point. I shouldn't throw down so much shade because like, if that is your job, think about waking up that morning and going, what is all this? And you just got to plow through it.
Oh yeah. Really. You got to get it out there. If that's your job, like you have to.
Just gotta go.
That's why I don't fault them for doing it. Some do it better than others.
Yeah.
And I don't like the ones that just went crazy hard on like especially the Nintendo one. They really, some outlets just really shape that story to something it wasn't. And I think that's a bummer.
To me, it's just, but
I can't,
the immaturity is the word. It just shows us like you actually have no idea what it would take to
you can't fault them for doing what's in their best interest.
Well, that's where I'm trying to figure out what, like, there's no right side of this. You're right. Like, they got to get through it. They got to present the story. But I feel like there should also be, if you are covering this industry with such dedication, that's your day to day. In some cases, it's 7 days a week. Is it a little embarrassing that you don't know how these executives think? Like, that this is how strategies are developed and this is how like communication is done like that? It's kind of embarrassing.
A little bit, yeah.
Yes, you're being fast, but like if you have a granular understanding of the DNA of how this industry runs, you might have at least a little bit of understanding and either compassion, empathy. Or you can at least imagine what it would be like to be in a room where those conversations are happening and how they happen that way. That'd be a good thing to have in our industry, I think. But instead, it's just armchair quarterbacking, really.
Well, yeah.
Which I guess is,
the social existence.
Yeah. That's my soapbox for today, I guess.
Yeah. It was fun to talk to you about it anyways.
Well, it's huge. Like that's the thing. Ryan and I, we chat a lot about like how we wanted to cover it on the Xbox Drive and everything else. And behind the scenes, he's like, what about this thumbnail for the weekend? It was all TGS. And I'm like, dude, we've got to, like, TGS was a big deal, but like, how can we not address this in the thumbnail? Like, we ended up running with like, this is might be the biggest week in Xbox.
Yeah, you messaged me and you're like, we're not going to talk about this. And I was like, how?
Well, I was wondering. At that time, I was like, I don't know if we're going to talk about it. I don't know. Like, I want to be able to handle this properly. That was really the biggest thing for me, Donnie, was like, I want to be, this is so huge. I don't want to screw it up. That was really, I don't think I wasn't articulating. I was usually when I'm messaging on Discord or really anywhere, I'm probably multitasking. I'm pretty bad about that.
I got you.
Case.
And it's a lot. You may not want to like, switch your entire show over to this, which it requires.
Yeah. I just wanted to do it well because it is so big. That's my entire point for the last 20 minutes. I wanted to do it.
Our notes was like 2 pages.
Yeah.
And it was just so like, and I really just hit like what I thought were the highlights. I didn't cover I could have gotten way more into it. And I really just kind of picked out what I thought were really notable. Like, these are the 5 most important things out of this whole thing, and shout about them for a minute. But it was unbelievable. I mean, it is honestly crazy that this even happened. What a wild story.
Right? I know.
What a wild story. It's like the guy that left his like Ubisoft Assassin's Creed briefcase on the subway. We're like, what the hell does this happen?
It's like the new version of that.
Yeah, it's just like, no, here we go. Here's everything we've ever done ever. Like, why does this exist here? It's like insane. Why don't you just upload how much you all make and your home addresses?
Yep. I mean, that's E3. E3 did that.
And you talk about a difference in coverage. When they got docs and all their plans got put out there, they acted DEFCON 5 on that. But very different.
Yeah, fascinating, dude. This is. Oh, the other side of the not covering it though too is, as much as when you listen back to this generation, this entire generation of console, and you listen back to the content created around it, the podcasts and whatnot, it's Activision Blizzard. Leaks, court cases. And my entire point, and this is, I think, a decent reason to think about not covering it, is like, can we talk about the video games?
Yeah.
Like, I know we're talking about the industry, and like, for a lot of people, that's the same thing. For a lot of people, those are completely synonymous. The industry and the games are the same. And personally, in my mind, they're not.
Or especially when the industry news has impacts to the games. Impacts the Game Pass, impacts to the console, impacts to the roadmap.
Siloed. There's not a vacuum. Yeah. But they are the tone, the tenor, even as we're chatting.
No, I've always heard you. Different. I know you showed a lot of hesitation, and it was a very like difference making point. You were very much like differentiating, I think, the Xbox Drive from definitely every other Xbox show out there during this whole thing by not covering all the details. I don't have that. I don't share that same sentiment, but our show isn't that either. I mean,
right.
With our news segment, I just try to cover the news, like whatever it is.
Yeah.
I don't pick, choose what news we cover. I try to cover the news.
Yep.
Obviously, I think bias is shown towards the news that we care about.
Sure.
We'll talk about it longer. We'll be more knowledgeable, but I just try to bring the news to the show. Like, this is the news.
Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to say like one thing is right or wrong. I will say the tabloid kind of angle is something I'm going to be thinking about for quite some time. But I do, and many others do, listen to PSVG for your style. For
like with the Activision thing, for example. Yeah, I'll just use that as an example. The Activision thing was ginormous. It was huge. It had a lot of angles, had a lot of different tangents, and a lot of different routes and different directions. Mm-hmm. I tried my best to like grab, I think, the important things and like explain it.
Yeah.
Like in a way to like tell the story of like, here's what's going on. Here's kind of why it's going on. And here's kind of the different paths it would go by. Yeah. I didn't try to do too much projecting. Unless there were a lot of times that people would ask us like, do you think it's going to go through? Do you think, like, and at that point I would answer, but more often than not, I was just like, here's the process that's unfolding and here's kind of what it means. And here's the timetable. And it was more focused on that. I didn't see not that I listened to a whole lot of things to find it, but generally speaking, the stuff that I was seeing online and Reddit and things, I didn't see too many people really talking about those sorts of things. So a lot of people were just talking about more of like the outcomes.
Sure.
They're focusing on the outcomes and what it means for the console wars. And I didn't really want to do that. I wanted to focus on the case. This is the case that the FTC is making, right? And here's the case that the Xbox is making in reverse. Here's Nintendo's role in this. Here's Sony's role in this. Here's why a guy from Stadia was testifying today. I was trying to bring that sort of context to the story.
Again, like I listened to every bit and I wanted that especially from you, because you're very good at it and the way that you tackle it as well. John 32 says, pretty sure Donnie has a law degree now. Probably. I mean, didn't you say your wife is very happy?
I was very happy that my wife's a paralegal, and there was also like a legal, like a ask a lawyer Reddit where a lot of people were talking about like the Xbox stuff. So I would peruse those and like try to get some takeaways and things like that.
So good.
But yeah.
Where am I going with this? I guess it's just about it's about a choice. And again, like you think about, you listen back on the last couple of years, I'd love to hear about like video games. I guess I should have wrote it down while you were opining there, but
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
I would say I mean, for us, we start the show by talking about the games we played, and our shows are much longer than yours. Xbox Drive is like what, 60 minutes, and we do like 180 minutes.
Yeah, well, and that means you can do more than.
Yeah, we've got time.
Yeah,
and if you want to just skip it, like you could just skip our entire news block if you want.
I guess like trying to think about like, okay, well, people might be asking like, what do you mean by like, what else would you do if you had? And this is maybe a chance to explore that a little bit. Like Ryan and I did one time. I'd like to do this again. This was before his break. We learned of the games that were coming to Game Pass, and we watched all the trailers for them.
You did the trailers, yeah, I
watch along kind of thing. And I'm like, I think that's a version of that. It's kind of in that direction that is one step further from, I read a bullet point list of these are the games coming. I haven't heard of these, so who cares about them? What can I do with the time that I have available? It's not like I've got this magical wand that I can just play all the games, to our point earlier, but how can I talk about games without playing the games? Like, can I be at least a little bit more familiar with them?
Informative.
And if my entire attention and energy is into the news and into court cases,
I try to do that too.
Yeah.
When we have Game Pass games,
you're good at this, man. This is what
I try to hit some trailers and get like an idea.
Yep.
But I can't for every single, like there's sometimes I'm just like, it's too much.
Yeah.
One thing, I'm not sure if you've noticed, but one thing that I've actively done is I've stopped covering the games that are leaving Game Pass.
Interesting.
I haven't done that in some time now.
Now that you mention it, I definitely,
it's been like a year. We were doing it and I realized I was like, well, I never do this for PlayStation Plus, and they have games that leave. And like the games that are there, it's also the reason why, I'm not sure if you remember this, because this was like an active choice by me. When we first started doing this, because I cover the games that come to Game Pass every month, I'm sure a lot of podcasts do. I used to talk about the platforms they're coming to, and I've stopped doing that altogether as well. I'm like, look, man, I'm just going to try to tell you about the games and tell you the ones I'm excited about. But like, if you want all these details, you'll know which ones are leaving. Like, there are avenues for you to do this. I don't have to cover this on the show.
Right. And also, like, retaining that.
I was just like, that's kind of where it was. I was like, how appealing is any of this? That I'm like, this one's on cloud and this one's on PC, but this one's on everything and this one's only on Xbox. I was like, this can't be good to anybody listening to this. So I just kind of cut it. I was like, you know what? We're just not going to do that anymore. I will talk about a game that's leaving Game Pass if it's like a game that I think people really care about.
Sure.
If GTA 5 is leaving Game Pass, I'll throw it in at the end. But if everything else, like, I'm not going to tell you that Firewatch has left Game Pass. Like, figure it out. Like, if you care about it enough, figure it out. I just kind of stopped.
But that's really it. Like, that's kind of pulling the curtain back a little bit here as well. That in all content creation, it's all choices, and some of us don't realize the choices that we even have. Because we just fall into some sort of format and you do the thing and you're like, you don't even realize like what you've made decisions in order for that podcast to be what it is. I feel like there's fewer decisions with this podcast in particular.
Well, there's no decisions.
Like, it was just like,
I don't even know how we got
here.
Was
to start. Exactly. The decision was we hit go, we're on Melon. That's it.
Yeah.
It's pretty much all there is. But pretty much but even still, like, we're still making decisions throughout. Like, we could be talking about almost anything else, but
I mean, I think it's an admirable directive to take. Like, I want to focus on the products that we're playing more so than the executive decisions, like the that are happening, and try to bring the things to people that they're playing. I've heard other podcasts that I think are taking a similar approach. I think there's probably a market for that, actually, with all of this stuff. There's probably somebody out there who's like, man, I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Just tell me about, like, I'm playing this video game. I wish somebody would talk about it. There's probably a good market of the people out there that want to hear that.
And that's the kind of the regret that I have while I'm trying to figure out how to, make the best thing that we can.
I think somebody out there is probably like, man, I've been playing Lies of P for a week and I wish somebody would just talk about it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I get it.
What it, man, I'm yammering on for like 35 minutes trying to figure out how to articulate it. That's the thing.
I get it.
What if it was a podcast?
I joke about it on the show. I'm not sure if you listened to the last couple of weeks, I joke about the show. Like, we're the worst podcast in the world because there's not one of us talking about Starfield. Not a one.
Yeah.
Not one of us.
I refuse to think about you guys as being even remotely.
Well, I mean, it's like tongue in cheek because it's the biggest game right now that everything's talking about, and we have nothing to say on the matter. See, so I'm just kind of acknowledging that the game is out there and we're just not going to do anything about it.
Yeah. And I've been there, like, the self-deprecating, like, I get it. I completely get it. But me, like, I'm such a contrarian about this kind of stuff where I'm like, that doesn't mean it's bad. If you're not doing the thing that everybody else is doing, that doesn't mean
100%
bad.
100%.
Like, actually, like, that's the kind of the point I'm trying to make is like, do something. If everybody else is playing Starfield, it's a tricky example because you actually can have 50 different people playing the exact same game and have a lot of different things to say about it, but there is going to be still quite a bit of similarities. You go
on the show this week,
4 podcasts.
I talked for like 15 minutes about playing Retro Bowl.
Heck
fucking
yes.
mobile game that came out 5 years ago.
Dude, did you see the Nintendo Drive thumbnail this week was Trombone Champ?
Oh God, are you guys doing that? I remember I was in your chat listening to, was it Kyle?
Or Seth?
Seth. I was listening to Seth. He's like, I want to play a Trump. I was like, what is happening? I can't believe this is happening right now.
Yeah. Like, that's us living it. Like, I'm not just saying these things. Like, who knows? There's some sort of, maybe it could have been about the direct.
I wasn't surprised at all, but I was completely rolling my eyes the moment that was shown the direct. I was like, okay, so this is going to be the thing that Switchland is doing for the next 4 weeks. Okay. Doing Trombone Champ.
Trombone Champ. Well,
I remember when it popped, like, all the streamers were playing. I remember Jeff talking about it, and I think I saw somebody play it and was like, no, not even a little bit. I've heard for years everybody crush Wii music and everything, and then suddenly this happens and now it's cool. Fuck out of here. No, absolutely. I'm not jumping on this train. Goose Game got me, and it's not going to happen again. Fuck y'all. Nope, you can't be trusted.
Dude, that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah,
can't be trusted. Nope. Snake Pass got me, and then Goose Game got me. Not again. Nope. Fool me once.
Oh my gosh. What was the first one? Snake Pass.
Snake Pass.
Yeah.
God, I remember that game came out, and every outlet under the sun was talking about how great Snake Pass was. And to this day, I don't think I've hated a game more. Like I started playing and I was like, I hate this. I actively hate this entire game from start to finish. And
that's good. People know they know that about you. What I worry about maybe a little bit is I don't want people to think that we're only talking about the things we're talking about to be different. Because I do talk on this quite a lot. I definitely don't want that. And that kind of gets me to my point
like
about
for contrarian's sake.
Yeah. Like I'm not gonna be like, you know what? Nobody else is talking about Dodgeball Academia. And I'm gonna talk about that. And I love it. And people should totally check this out. Like that's, I don't know, it's complicated. It's complex.
John 32 says fool me 8 times. You're not wrong. You're not wrong, man. The marketing game in video games is supremely powerful. I've seen it in my own. I've pointed it out multiple times. My son is this way. He's so impacted by marketing. It's incredible. He didn't even know what Starfield was the day it released.
Yep.
He came home and I was like, you playing Starfield? He was like, what's Starfield? Wow. And I was like kind of shocked. I was like, oh.
Imagine living your life and just like not even hearing about it.
And I didn't do anything. I was like, I was like, I went, no, I was like, never mind. He said, no, what is it? I was like, oh, it's just this new Game Pass game. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And like 2 days went by. And then I went out to my hot tub and his window was right by my hot tub. And I looked and he was playing Starfield.
Yeah.
Because
all you need to do is
the channels that he watches on YouTube, his friends at school, like that sort of machine gets going and then it lures him in. Yeah. And then he played Starfield, Sean, for like 40 hours, man. He had a ship and everything. And he was telling me he's stealing ships. And then the whole time I kind of like sit on, it's almost like market research. I just kind of sit like a fly on the wall. I'm like, like what happened?
Yeah.
You're like, what happened? He's like, oh, there's this guy on YouTube and this channel and his son was playing. And I'm like, oh, look at you. I remember when Hi-Fi Rush came out. I think I talked about this on the podcast or something. I was like, yeah, man, this game is like, it's really fun. I'm playing it. And he was just like, yeah, but it's not like a big game. Like that was his thing because the hype, like it didn't rise.
Sad. Like the
and I'm just like, it's so powerful. Yep. It really, like, I think we undersell it sometimes. There's a reason that hundreds of millions of dollars get pumped into it. And there's a reason that these companies are
paid
trying to get people to stream the games. And like, it's supremely powerful. And it's like driving this industry.
Yep. Oh, big time. Big time. Yeah. It's funny. I was talking to my brother-in-law earlier today. He's like, yeah, I heard about Starfield. Like, I'm going to buy it. I'm like, Game Pass. Like,
I had a friend of mine.
Pay attention.
I have a friend of mine who is the same friend I've referenced a few times. He's really like a colleague, but we're like pals. He works at a different company, but we kind of do the same job. And this whole time for a year, he calls me. We talk once a month. And he's really into racing. So most of the time it's about racing stuff, about F1 racing games, things like he has like the setup at home with the wheel and everything. And he'll talk to me about like the latest game. He'll talk to me like whatever is in the news. Ask me what I'm talking about. And it's funny because oftentimes, as you and our listeners know, I don't even play those games. There's so many game of the years this year that I have not even been interested in.
Same.
Let alone try them. I didn't even start. Absolutely not. Not even nothing. And all this year he was like, yeah, I'm not interested in Starfield or anything. I'm not going to do the Starfield. Well, that's cool. Yeah, I'm not going to do it either. And then the time came, he's playing Starfield. He played like 25 hours of Starfield.
Hell yeah. Yes.
Again,
10 million players, dude.
He fell into it. He was like, I didn't realize you could do this and do that. And I saw it on this TikTok thing. And then like, he got him. Eat the hype. He got into it. And I usually just say the same thing. I always try to tell people, I'm like, I try really hard. I think I take an active role in trying to be like, man, I hope it's great.
Yeah.
Like I want to be that person that like roots for you. Like, I hope you're loving it. I don't want any part to do with Starfield, but I hope you love it.
I want to know the person who actively roots against a game.
We see those people. That happens a lot.
I mean, I guess Starfield probably has its own cast of characters.
That's why I try to take an active role and not being that way. It's easy to fall into that contrarian thing. And I try not to be. I try to give a reason why I'm not interested, but still be that cheerleader for you.
Yep.
Unless you're Garrett, and then fuck those games. Okay.
that was feeling like way too positive, way too sunshine. You're just like, all right, Donnie, like let's course correct here. Now, unless you're Garrett.
Unless you're Garrett, then fuck those games. We're not doing any of that.
Oh my gosh, man. Is there a game like you're going to be trying out Forza coming up here pretty soon?
Eventually.
October is
not like you.
Tricky.
Not
not
you.
day one, not
Probably
like Game
not.
Pass
No,
day one.
I'm not getting that expansion. I don't want early access.
No, that's still different. Like,
and I'm not. I doubt I play at game one because I'm playing Starfield. I'm playing Cyberpunk.
Yeah, I got you.
And I imagine that I will still be playing Cyberpunk whenever I get access to Mirage.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that might mean early.
Yeah.
That would be fun. And if it's not, then day one for sure.
For Mirage, yeah.
And then Mirage gets me to what, Mario?
Yep. October 20th.
And I don't know if I'm playing Forza anytime during that time. Like it's right now. One of those games would have to bust for me to put it down to play Forza.
Mm-hmm.
So Forza is just kind of on that. It's on deck at some point as these games cycle in and out. I may not play Forza until after Call of Duty, maybe.
Oh, dude, yes, Call of Duty's coming. I think you're an interesting one to watch for Mirage in particular. Actually, I'm glad that I feel like you've got your priorities straight there. I'm not going to try to talk you out of that. But coming off of Valhalla, coming into this, I don't know if there's a better person to listen to.
Well, thank you.
Put like 300 hours into Valhalla.
So
like,
many times.
That game.
But a part of that might just be that I wasn't very good at Valhalla.
No, I don't think so. I think it speaks to your tree puncher thing.
I really fucking love Valhalla. I loved it so much. It was such that game for me.
But like that to me is like peak, whatever you want to call that iteration of Assassin's Creed. Like postmodern, like whatever, like it's the latest,
the
greatest, like that's it to its maximum potential. Like it's not going to get any more Valhalla.
And now this is completely different.
And now I want to see you go from as much Assassin's Creed, the 3 Origins. That's we got to call that something. You got to like group those together as a thing. But now going back to OG styling, just going, it's almost like 16-bit.
So that's the thing. Back. So we've talked about this a little bit in PSVG, mostly in Discord. Because Dev is real big on this. So is Garrett. They're both big on back to form, back to classic, all this like it's OG, but it's not really. It's the combat and the stealth are the new modern Assassin's Creed. They're the same. Yeah. It's more of just the game design is more classic. But this isn't like you're playing Assassin's Creed 2 again, obviously. It's a modern.
So what do you mean by that then? Because I think that requires some definition. People are painting with a broad stroke when they describe it in that way. Like, what do you mean by its different design?
So the design of the game, the way they've designed enemies to be tougher, obviously, to be more threatening, to attack in packs, or that style of design it doesn't force you. You don't have to do it, but it tempts you, entices you to play the game more stealthily, like the games of old, than the games that we've most recently played. But the mechanics are not those games. Like the mechanics are like the combat mechanics are Valhalla's mechanics.
Interesting.
The stealth in the game is Valhalla's stealth. It's the same controls, the same mechanics.
Yeah.
So it's really like so many people have been like, it's the old Assassin's Creed Returned, and every time I've dove in on any impressions and things, I'm like, it's really a blend of the two. It's really not.
Sure. Okay.
And I'm wondering, if it's just the design and it's like the city is making people say that because it's more city focused. But the grasp that I've taken anyway, and I could just be wrong.
I guess
the grasp that I've taken on is that it's really a blend of these two eras. It's like Valhalla meets Assassin's Creed 3.
Yeah.
And it's like exists somewhere in the middle. It's a little bit of both. You know,
that's why I'm interested to hear you play it and talk.
It's kind of like a greatest hits.
Yeah. But I don't want to I don't want to hear people just say what other people are saying. Like when you kind of you're actively doing that right now to try to differentiate. It's not just old Assassin's Creed. It's
but that's been like the thing. When you read IGN and Eurogamer, they all just kind of keep talking about that. And I think it's the setting. It's just the setting is making people say that. But it's like, if you really dive in and you're like, because that's what I started doing. Everybody's talking about how it's old. And to be honest with you, with me, I was like, I mean, I like this old Assassin's Creed 2, but I was worried leading into Mirage that it was going to be like linear Assassin's Creed. Here's your target, go kill him. Here's your next target, go kill her. Here's your next target. And I was like, that's not what I want from an Assassin's Creed game. So I went diving into people that are playing it. Like, tell me what it's like to play. And as I started diving into those sorts of things, I was like, oh, it's not that at all. Like, you're still going to have those Valhalla missions where it's like, you've got to get a key. It's somewhere up there. Figure out how to go get it. You know, like, it's more than just that. You start seeing the mechanics. You start hearing about the pairing. You start seeing the mechanics on how to fight. You see the mechanics on stealth. You see the stealth objects that you have to deploy. And it's like, when I see that, I'm like, oh, it's Valhalla. It's Valhalla set in Assassin's Creed 1, but it is the same thing.
It's really interesting because it almost begs for like a video essay of like, what are the hallmarks of Valhalla? What makes that game that game? And
it's just not
point of reference to
the difference being is it's not that big of an open world.
That's what. So thank you, because you started on like the enemy, like the interactions with the enemy. I'm like, let's get to the open world. And
it's just not that. That's the big difference. And the funniest thing is, you know, they're selling this game at a cheaper price, and I think it's very interesting because, like, in so many ways, the Ragnarok expansion was like 4 times what Mirage is.
Just the expansion.
Just the expansion. I'm not saying that exaggerating. I mean, dead serious.
Yeah, no, I imagine so.
Compared to Mirage, Ragnarok is like 2 games.
Yeah, that's great. That's what I want to get into. Like when you play it, is like, this isn't even a $60 game. It's not a $70 or whatever. Maybe it is a $60 game. It's not a full price release.
Yeah. What is
so?
It?
What does that?
I thought they did
how does that
50.
roll out? Yeah, that seems to ring a bell.
I think it's 50.
So like, what does that mean on the game? Like, and you won't know until you play into it, but is it scope and scale? Is it the number of things that distract you when you're trying to do you say $49.99?
Yeah, $49.99. I don't think it has as many like side activities and branching things.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to hate it, Jordan. I think if I had to guess, I don't know if he's still listening or not, but if I had to guess, I think what Dev will do, and I think what's happening with most people, is they're latching on to the things that remind them of the days of old. And they'll say, this is the old game because of this, because of the setting, because of the conciseness, they'll take those things and these are the reasons why I like this game. And
makes me want to play totally fine. Creed 2. Makes me want to jump fine and play the old one. And
I'm not even saying that's wrong. I mean, that's totally fine. But to say it's completely different, like to be like, the reason I latch onto it is because it's like to be like, oh, I hate Odyssey and I hate Valhalla, but I'm going to like this. But it's like, but it is that.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, the only difference is it's not as long. It's not 300 hours. It's 20 hours.
Yeah. Well, to your point about
it's like an expansion of like Valhalla had, sorry to keep interrupting you. Valhalla had like 6 expansions.
Yeah.
And Mirage really feels like an expansion of like just one of those expansions.
Let it exist, but this is to this is a totally different point that I was going to go on before, to the earlier point about like games being chosen to be gigantic and cost $40 trillion to develop, or it could be this.
Yeah, no, I'm
or
totally
it could be
fine
Hive Busters for Gears 5, or it could be et cetera, et cetera.
Well, we've been on this train. I'm totally fine with this. I would have paid more for Hive Busters.
Same. Yeah. Very cool.
I would have paid more for Hive Busters. And I'm not afraid of Mirage's. I'm not afraid of Mirage's. I would have paid $70 if that, because I'm here for it. Now we all know that's a sliding scale. Not everybody is.
Yeah.
If you've been playing Odyssey, Origins, Valhalla, and now you're here for the new Assassin's Creed game, there's a chance that this game releases and we see people that are let down. They're like, that's it?
Yeah.
That exists.
Much less. This is kind of the idea of, I can't remember who would have positioned this first, but the notion of, if The Witcher is 200 hours, would CD Projekt Red have a leg to stand on if they wanted to charge $100 for that? If shorter games are less, should longer games be more?
Yeah.
Like, this is kind of playing with that to a certain extent. Like, it doesn't seem like anybody wants to go ahead and charge more, but they've expanded what it means to be call it a $60 release. So make this go in the other direction. Is kind
John
of
32 says it was the RPG elements of the new Assassin's Creed games that he didn't jive with, and I would actually echo that. I tried Origins a couple times and it didn't really get with me. All the gear shuffling and management and all that, kind of that Diablo factor. I was like, this isn't for me. And I played more Odyssey, but it still wasn't really quite my jam. Odyssey's a game I kind of want to go back to at some point.
My favorite one out of all of them.
But Valhalla was, it's like that Far Cry 5 moment for me where I felt those systems were streamlined.
Yes.
I could pick the armor that I liked. Speaking, this is very cyberpunk pro right now. I could pick the armor that I liked because it looked cool and not worry about all the numbers and everything anymore.
You just run with
and
it.
I could just keep optimizing and getting like, once I got like a kind of like the easy button, like the RPG light aspect to it, and then I'm like, oh, so I can just go around and be Viking assassin. Now I'm in the game. So it was that perfect moment for me where I think the two previous games were more RPG heavy than I wanted. They were just a little bit too far. And then it kind of came back to me. And that's the difference between me and Odyssey. And because it's not Eivor. I wasn't like, I just love Eivor so much more than Cassandra. I'm not that into these characters, I think, as Assassin's Creed fans are. I just, they're the character that I'm playing as. Like, I'm like,
Cassandra's the exception for me, but usually it's like, man, people really care about this.
They care a great deal about it. They have very strong thoughts on all of these different people. And I'm like, they're just the people we played the game as. I'm not that into it. I'm not that deep into it anyway. I'm not that committed to it. But Valhalla just was the right play. It also was like, especially with Ragnarok, Valhalla and like Breath of the Wild have so many similarities. I know I probably said this a bunch when I was playing the games, but like there's a lot of shared influence and DNA across those games. And I think that played a big part of it to me as well.
That you like, so that if you like one, you like the other.
Ragnarok, dude, you can fly and be like a bird and like mount an elk and like fucking shoot fireballs and shit. Like it's,
You can?
If you liked Immortals Phoenix Rising, like
I did.
Oh, Ragnarok is like the ultimate edition of that.
Interesting.
It's like that, but like good.
Playing
and I liked Immortals Phoenix Rising, the game, and I hated the story and the characters and the dialogue.
And I liked it. Yeah,
I wasn't digging that. Like,
I get it.
That vibe. Was a lot.
Yeah.
So Ragnarok was that, but what I wanted.
Yeah, without the irreverence, like look how clever and funny.
Yes.
And,
If I could have turned off commentary, I would have liked Phoenix Rising a lot more.
Fun game, man. Super
really good mechanics and really beautiful at times. Like gorgeous.
I got save crashes on it. My save stopped working.
That happened to me too. No, it didn't get a save crash, but I had something like that happen. I can't remember. Something like that happened. I remember talking to Elaine about it. You just jogged my memory.
Yep.
I was podcasting with Elaine, and I think I had a corrupted save.
Yep.
I couldn't get back into the game
in a row, and that was it.
Yeah, but I really enjoyed it. On Xbox Series X, it was gorgeous. On Switch, it's not so gorgeous.
I've had way too much Diet Pepsi tonight, Donnie. I don't know if we want to take a quick intermission, keep going, or how you're feeling about how long you want to go tonight.
Oh, it's 9:30.
9:30. Yeah,
probably call it wraps.
We could call it.
I'd like to see my wife maybe watch a horror movie.
That sounds like that sounds good. And I feel like we talked about video games tonight. Like, yes,
it was fun. It was fun.
Do the dang thing.
I was having no plans.
Well, speaking of plans, I can tell people whoever is here, they get a little scoop. But patrons who are listening to the audio only feed at patreon.com/carpoolgaming, Donnie and I are doing something very cool next month. You don't even know what it is. You don't even know what it's part of. You don't know anything. You will know soon. But I just wanted to plant that seed a little bit. I'm
looking forward to this. This is going to be a lot of fun.
I'm very excited.
I don't get this opportunity too often. Talking about Shepherd. Like I'm shepherding young Sean along, and I'm very excited to talk to Ryan. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be very cool. More information coming soon. But we'll leave it for a shadow drop. But we'll just give a little taste. So enjoy that, friends. Yes. But my bladder is going to explode. And I don't know why I'm drinking so much Diet Pepsi today, but Chelsea came home. She's like, "Do you want to drink?" I'm like, "Yeah, yes, please." I just say,
when is the answer ever no?
Sometimes it's a little late, or I'm about to go to bed and I don't want
so much restraint.
Like, it's a $3. Now they're not $1.
Give it to me.
$3 pop.
That's true.
Damn.
Okay, I'm gonna leave you with this. Came across a TikTok the other day, pissed me off to all high heavens. Did you know that in like the early 90s, you could go to fucking Wendy's and they had a full damn buffet with salad and soup and pasta and like burger, and it was $3.99, Sean.
Oh yeah. Yep.
They had dessert It's like damn Golden Corral.
I remember.
And the next time I have to hear one of these boomer fucks tell me about how the world isn't so bad, I'm going to lose my shit because I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I can't take my family out for less than $100 anywhere. It costs me like $60 to go to fucking Wendy's.
Yeah.
It costs so much money.
Like you're now talking about going to Wendy's at like $15 a plate. You know what I mean?
$3.99. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Why did we miss it all? What happened?
Yep. I've been watching it closely, Donnie. I'm going to these restaurants maybe too often. I'm like,
and the people are like, oh, but $3.99 wasn't the same. No, but it was though. $3.99?
$3.99. Yeah, it does.
You've got to be kidding me.
You find $3.99.
I went to McDonald's. I took my family. I went to get McDonald's for my family 2 weeks ago. They have a value family meal where you get like 40 chicken nuggets and fries.
Yeah.
I got that for the kids. 2 sandwiches for my wife and I. Fries and 2 drinks. Didn't even get everybody a drink. Everybody didn't get a drink, Sean. It was $55. I was like, since when are we spending $50 at McDonald's? What is happening?
That is crazy.
So this isn't only an American issue. This is a Canadian thing too.
Same thing. Like I go up there, I'm like, man, I'd really like some chicken.
Gracious.
I'd really like to get like chicken nuggets or a chicken sandwich, but it's too pricey.
I'm sure it wasn't. I'm sure it wasn't as good as it looked in the commercial, but Sean, the food looked so good.
Donnie, here's the deal though.
It looks so healthy.
2 extra value meals for $15. 2 can dine for $15. It used to be like 2 can dine for $5.99 kind of thing. Like that was the deal. Anyway, we've reached peak old man. Back in my day, shit was affordable.
It is $60 at McDonald's. I'm like, we should have just went to Longhorn. Why are we here?
I used to get a Twix for a nickel. All right.
Okay.
I'm gonna pee my pants.
Good times. Bye,
Good
folks.
times. Sweet Hanks.